What up, everybody? Welcome to the Smoking Tire Podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Off the Record. We love Off the Record because they do as they say. It's right there in the name. Get those points off your record. If you get a ticket, a moving violation of any kind, big or small, get Off the Record. Go to offtherecord.com/TST or download the Off the Record app and use code TSTPOD. Off the Record will then set you up with a qualified attorney in the jurisdiction where you got pulled over, and they'll help fight that ticket and get those points off your record. They have an unbelievable success rate. I use them. I've used them multiple times, and you guys email me all the time saying that you use them too with success. So go to offtherecord.com/TST or download the Off the Record app and use code TSTPOD. Get Off the Record. Don't plead guilty. That code is good for 10% off all legal services with Off the Record. And now, let's do a show. All right, folks, tonight in studio, Paul and Todd of Everyday Driver are joining us. They have expanded their everyday driving empire by purchasing Hooked on Driving, which is a track day company. And so we spend a lot of time talking about the nuts and bolts of what it's like to buy a track day company, renting out racetracks, using tracks for both filming and for customers, the idea that you need to have a backup business for when YouTube inevitably collapses, and a whole lot more, such as the Lotus Emira versus the Acura NSX, why the Lotus Elise may be the most analog car ever, and a bunch of great questions from our patrons over at patreon.com/The Smoking Tire Podcast. Paul and Todd of Everyday Driver and the new owners of Hooked on Driving are in studio. It's the Smoking Tire Podcast. All right, this is the Smoking Tire.
Oh, good. We're off to a great start there. I like that.
Bienvenue, boys.
I'll cheers on the water bottle. All good.
Thank you.
Glad to be here.
Chase in the corner. Right, you're here.
Yes, we are.
You're here. Thank you for coming. I'm sorry Zach isn't with us today.
No worries.
He is at the racetrack.
Yeah, and then he's busy getting married after that, right?
Bachelor party.
Oh, okay.
Well,
all
I
right.
mean, yes, he is
Then
getting
he'll be
married.
busy getting married, yeah.
One typically follows the other.
Typically they connect. Yes, I understand. Yes.
But this weekend is his stag. His
all right.
stag
All right.
do.
Good. Awesome. Love it.
And then the wedding is in October. We'll be celebrating the wedding,
Fantastic.
which is very
Good for them.
exciting.
Good for him.
But unfortunately, he can't make it today, and that's too bad for him.
Yeah, you guys have been running nuts, and as have we. So I get
But
it.
you know what he's doing? He's at the Thermal Club right now.
Really?
Okay. He just left. I don't think he'll make it back in time for this show to be over. Hoosier has come out with a DOT tire. Mm-hmm. Did you hear about this?
We heard rumors it was
actually.
coming. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I heard rumors like a year ago, but now it's actually here.
Okay.
And so he went out. I couldn't make it. I had some important business to attend to. So he went out to test the Hoosier DOT tire at the Thermal Club on behalf of the Smoking Tire.
Very cool. Do you know what they're
cool.
putting them on? Do you know what the test cars are?
I don't know what they were driving today. I will have a full report when Zach comes back.
Sure.
The most important question, though, was answered, which is yes, they have fitments for the 718 Spider.
That's all that matters.
As if you're going to ask.
I want to try some tires.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And
yeah,
I
totally
have
cool.
blown through these Dunlops they've given me. Blown through is the wrong term. The car has 5,200 miles on it, and these tires are Dunzo.
Yeah.
So
We've heard about these tires.
the Dunlops?
No, the Hoosiers.
the Hoosiers.
Very
Yeah,
intrigued.
yeah,
Very
yeah.
intrigued.
The Hoosiers are.
I haven't read
they
anything
seem
yet. I
interesting.
mean, they just came out today or yesterday, I think.
Weird that it took them this long to make a straight tire, isn't it? It's
We've
like the
heard
kind of thing
rumors.
that like you'd think.
Well, but I think they leaned so far into the track world. I think that got them almost a little scared of, okay, so we're going to put a tire for the rest of the world. What do we do? But it'll be interesting to see what it's like for sure. I'm very curious.
Let's see if I can. Hang on. Let's see if I can make this work. Maybe. What I need to do is that.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. Split screen. I wanted to split screen us on the video.
Oh, cool.
But I've never done a split screen with a pairing.
Okay.
But it works.
Look
as
at
it
you.
turns
Hey,
out.
awesome.
Producing.
There you go.
Producing.
Yes, you are. You're doing a phenomenal job. Well done.
Yeah,
That's a
and
lot
while
of
we're
stuff
at it,
going on that side of the table.
Make sure you follow Make sure you follow Everyday Driver over there on the Instagram.
Yep.
we go.
We
and
appreciate it.
all the places you guys have like so much happening right now. I mean,
we're a little busy.
Quite a bit.
I've been following. Did you buy Hooked on Driving?
Yes, we did.
Yes, we did.
Yes, we did.
And you didn't call it Hooked on Everyday Driving?
We didn't. We thought we'd leave the title as it was. Yes, for sure. But
Wow, how about that, huh?
Nuts. I mean, it's that thing that you've talked about before, and that is, you're doing YouTube, and you realize, I should do something other than just YouTube. I need to have something that creates income and I can do for a living that I like that doesn't have to do with my face or voice making more content.
For sure.
So we had looked for a couple of years, various things kind of stopped and started, and more than a year before we bought it, we took it over first week of February this year.
Okay.
About a year prior, we were first approached.
And for those who have no idea what Hooked on Driving is, what is Hooked on Driving?
It is one of the premier high-performance driving events, so track day hosting companies in the U.S. It's been around for about 20 years.
Was that David?
David Ray.
David Ray,
David
right?
Ray founded it. Yeah.
Is he
in
still
2004.
with the company?
He
or is
sold it
out?
to us. Yeah.
Okay, so he's out.
So he's retiring. He's on to next chapter.
Lovely guy.
Yeah. And he did it for 20 years. He built it up from nothing. He built it out of a Northern California HQ into regions all over the U.S. Well, I should say all over the coasts of the U.S. So think from Pacific Northwest all the way through SoCal along the bottom and back up the East Coast. So we bought the whole thing, which is crazy to say. We thankfully had a backer who came in and said, because, all that YouTube money, right, Matt? So we could just throw down, for sure, of course. No, thankfully, we had a backer who was able to step behind us and go, I like this for you guys, and I will back your play on it, which was amazing. So we were able to approach it and just say, all right, we want to be the next chapter of this. So David sold to us beginning of February.
Yeah.
And we are actually doing our first.
Look, here you have your own tab.
You better believe it.
You got access to the Squarespace too.
We did. You better believe it. Yes.
You're up there.
We're doing our very first.
Shit, don't play.
We're doing our very first Utah track event actually in our backyard in about a week. But
well, so this is so great because you guys can also now do a road trip tour with a track day, like you've been doing. You can really combine it. You can really cut into what I'm doing. Road and track.
Well, but we kind of accidentally became a travel company,
right?
Because we've been doing the trips in Europe, and that's actually because we were doing a trip in Europe to with the same company that Hooked on Driving had done their first ever trip. That's how we all got connected in the conversation, and we've been doing these domestic trips without a tracking element. So you're right. To Paul's point, he always says we bought Hooked on Driving, not Hooked on Tracking.
Right.
So we can do some of these events and time to a track day, which is what we're doing in a week with Utah. We've got a drive day and a track day.
Which Hooked on Driving is known for track days, premier track days, which is important to us. Will continue, but we can add this element of adventures and doing things like you said overseas. We've been to the Ring in Spa with Ron Simons Racing for now a decade, which we can't believe.
Yeah,
that is a good
it's amazing.
time. But
it's time.
It's pricey. It's pricey.
It is. We had a trip in.
It's pricey.
We had a trip in April with the Hooked on Driving group, and then we went back 5 weeks later for what we call pilgrimage. You've heard us talk about pilgrimage.
Yeah.
So it's a shorter trip, less expensive, but that's all inclusive. Whereas Hooked on Driving is sort of, see you at the track. It's in a way kind of similar to Ross Bentley's program. Yeah. But it's
Ross is coming on the show.
Oh, good.
Soon. Yeah,
he's awesome.
Ross is we're gonna have the dynamic duo of Ross and Sam Smith.
I was going to ask if Sam was coming. That'll be awesome.
That'll
be great.
Yeah,
That'll be fantastic.
I love them both. It's going to be
good.
lunacy.
I will totally listen to that one. I'm very excited. I love both those guys. They're great.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah. I love Ross. I've never had him on the show.
Oh, it's amazing.
I mean, we've hung out a few times, and he's the greatest. I've never had him on the show. For those who have no idea who he is, he's one of the best driving instructors in the country.
Absolutely.
Well, you just say Ross. And people say, oh, okay, we understand. He carries such, his name carries such cachet, I guess is the wrong word, but
like if you love cars and someone goes, oh yeah, I learned from Ross. Oh, I know who you're talking about.
The track whisperer, and he still does a lot of coaching. When we talked to him last, he was doing coaching, I'm sure he'll tell you this, for some Daytona drivers, and he was doing it from his house in Seattle.
Well, that's the move now. It's the virtual analysis, right? I mean, a lot of the best coaches that I know will not ride right seat, nor should they. I mean, we have the technology. A lot of them will do it trackside. But they they can go, look, I can do it from my house at this price. I can do it from the track, at this price, or I can do it, over a sim with a headset. You know, if they're both in iRacing or, or Assetto or whatever.
Yeah,
cool.
totally. Yeah, he's really kind of been shocked, but I think loving doing stuff from his house. Like he's like, wait a minute, I can be right here with. He's got his little board in the background where he's like the corner. You can draw your stuff. It's great. It's awesome.
That's fun. It's
pretty
cool.
cool.
Good for him. And we'll hear about that from him soon. So obviously, it's a dumb question. What appeals to you guys about a track day company? I mean, there's certain very obvious things that appeal to you about a track day company, but like deeper as a YouTube exit plan, what appeals to you guys about a track day company?
Well, we were always looking for something where it wasn't just us making more content. We plan to continue making content. We don't have really an end on that necessarily, but at some point we're going to do less and less and less.
Sure.
So, but what we like is and to our surprise, the community that's been built up around Everyday Driver of people that like the content but also love going on these adventures and that kind of stuff. And one of the conversations we always have is get out and really drive and experience your car. And once it got beyond your local canyon road or you live nowhere near a canyon road, we've always been stuck on like, well, go find a track, I guess. Now we can be like, okay, this track in your area, we're doing this event, come.
Yeah.
So
having
very
an
much
audience,
yes.
Where the people will want to come drive with you is a value add for that track day program.
Totally. And even if we're not going to be there, we're going to be traveling to more places than we would typically go because some places don't make any sense to shoot. But if it's got a track day, we can go and be there and have a cars and coffee and do a bigger thing, which is really cool. But then also,
if you're profiting off a track day, it makes more sense to go film at the track day.
Absolutely.
Now, you know what I mean?
We've rented the track.
Well, yeah,
you
might as well go film something while you're there. And then everyone who's coming, it's like, well, do the track day, and you get a little BTS Everyday Driver experience. Right?
There's that.
Right.
And then there's the other thing, that you constantly see, which is, cars and coffee have trouble getting closed down because they're at some place that you don't have the insurance, you don't have the right to be there, blah, blah. We rented the whole track facility.
Yeah.
We have insurance.
So you
bring
can
your car, let's do cars and coffee while we're here.
Yeah. You can make it a cars
so
and coffee.
There's some of those happening, and then there's just track days in general. And then, this sounds crazy, but the two of us and Chance, I mean, that's the core of what gets all the Everyday Driver content done. But now we have actual people that work for us.
Right.
And track days happen when we're doing other things.
Right.
And that's weird because we're just so used to just doing everything.
Yeah.
It's wonderful to have stuff that's happening that we are a part of, but we don't have to be boots on the ground.
How many employees is Hooked on Driving outside of you three?
Well, it's there's 4 full-time in NorCal, and then it gets weirder because everybody else is franchises.
Right.
So the franchises, they're franchises.
Yeah, we've got franchises around the nation and just added Midwest. So look for the Midwest coming soon at a fairly new track called Hedge Hollow. It is a privately owned track, but they requested Hooked on Driving to be there. So we've got a new franchisee. It is southeast of Kansas City, about just over an hour. So it's a bit out there, but it does serve, it's our understanding, that market is kind of hungry for premium track days out there.
I don't know a lot about Kansas City, but the fact that there's a is it like, when you say private, it's like a country club track?
No. The story is nuts.
A dude's track.
Quite wealthy man with a series of
Yes.
McLarens built himself a racetrack. And it has the full digital flagging system. I mean, it was like a no expense spared track.
That's what everyone's using now is the digital flagging.
Well, it's our understanding
love.
the front straightaway.
Can't wait for AI flagging. That's going to be my favorite.
Oh, that's going to
be
be
old Chat GPT hallucinating a fucking yellow caution.
Yikes. Oh, no.
That's coming.
Oh, for sure.
So it's our understanding the front straightaway was designed to be able to land this owner's jets.
Oh, this is the New York safety track story. You ever been to New York Safety Track?
I'm familiar with the story, but keep going.
We just did Performance Electric Car of the Year there.
Okay,
the guy bought a small airport. Because he was a flying enthusiast.
Yeah.
There you go.
And he realized very quickly that he could find some loophole to turn. That's why it's called New York Safety Track. Like, why else would you name something?
Put it in the name.
Yeah,
it must be safe.
Some funky loophole. And now he's got this little track that's mainly for motorcycles, but you could do car testing there. So it's the same kind of deal, right?
Similar concept where he had a bunch of friends and now he wants to bring more people. So we are doing that.
Hedge Hollow?
Hedge Hollow. We haven't quite scheduled one there yet. That is Lonnie and Marla. They are the new franchisee out there.
I want to see, but I just want to see what the track map looks like.
Yeah, you should either Google Maps, but it's also understanding.
Does Google Earth have a good?
You're doing okay. Google Earth is okay on it. Yeah,
let's pull the satellite view here. Let's see what we got.
So the garages,
there you go.
Huge paddock, and 20 F1 style garages there.
Oh, fucking Zach has the zoom and scroll reversed from how I like it. So forgive me if I
That's
suck.
all good. You're doing fine.
worries.
Oh, this is funny. How
It's
about
very
this,
cool.
huh?
Yeah,
There you
yeah.
go.
So that's the new track for us.
And look at this. See, this guy's smart. He's got two separate tracks that can be linked, so that way you can always rent one half out or do something on one and then film or whatever on the other, or have your members or whatever you got going on. Pretty sick,
There you
Habibi.
go. There you
So
go.
we've got that Midwest franchisee is kind of within like 300 miles or so of the Kansas City area, but we're actually headed to the Northeast soon. We have a Southeast franchise. So those, back to your original question, it's hard to say the total number because those franchisees all run a little bit different, but we've got essentially a pair of people
So
at
is
almost
your
every
job
location.
like QC?
To some degree.
Do you QC the franchisee?
To some degree,
Yes,
because that's
actually.
been the big thing is Paul and I, since we're not there actually running the track day, it's
Right.
been about trying to find some level of uniformity and trying to just promote the track days around the nation.
Yeah.
So that's become our
It's
gig.
funny. It's like beginner session, intermediate, advanced, filming. Beginner.
There you go. Yeah,
can
just about.
You can insert your own run
There you
group
go.
into all the
That's
track
awesome. I love that. That's very good. Yeah.
You know, it's occurred to me this is a profoundly stupid statement, but over the years that I am now convinced there is no nobility in manufacturers building cars for the sake of building cars. Fast, fun, cool cars. They are only built to extract the money out of the people who can afford them so they can drive them. And where can you drive them? They need storage, by the way.
They do.
I think we've
That
discovered
helps,
that. Yes.
Yeah.
And then they want to drive them differently than cars and coffee. There's cars and coffee, and then sort of what's after that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
There's
I'm,
driving
I'm
on the
not
street,
the
but
least bit surprised
then what?
that country club racetracks are a thing. I
They
mean,
are
I agree.
They
growing,
make
I agree.
so much sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the amount of money that people that I grew up with spent on golf.
Sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
the
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, just if you think about what someone would be willing to spend on a golf membership, and you scale that up by a significant amount, but not by doing the math out for what you're getting. Not by an astronomical amount, especially in some of the courses. Like thermal's an exception because they make you buy a property. When you can get a racetrack membership
Right.
without having to buy a property, yes, it's expensive. Yes, I'm not trying to pretend like money's not real, but it does make sense if you are going to have a collection of supercars
Yeah.
that you want to truly enjoy. Particularly if the track is conveniently located.
Well, and certainly
Yes,
compared to the fact that to the point you've made,
Guys, we got to take one quick break from the show because today we're supported by GetMainLobster.com. Imagine you're enjoying premium lobster tails perfectly cooked in your kitchen, bringing the essence of the ocean right to your table without the hassle of having to go to the grocery store. Now that you've pictured it, grab your laptop and check out some GetMainLobster.com. Get Main Lobster delivers the freshest lobster tails to your front door, wild caught off the coast of Maine and flash frozen at peak freshness to lock in breathtaking flavor. With over 16,000 five-star ratings, Get Maine Lobster is the #1 lobster delivery company in the USA, according to Good Housekeeping. So whether you're planning a special date night, hosting a celebration, or simply craving a taste of Maine at home, Get Maine Lobster is the easiest and most affordable way for you to enjoy fresh lobster. So right now, when you go to GetMainLobster.com, you can get 15% off all orders store-wide. Just use code TIRE at checkout, TIRE. Elevate your next meal with Get Maine Lobster and experience the taste that's trusted by thousands of seafood lovers across the country. Seriously, this is some of the best lobster you will ever taste. Head over to GetMainLobster.com. That's GetMainelobster.com. And use the code TIRE to get 15% off all orders store-wide. Don't miss out on the top-tier deals and fish at GetMainLobster.com. Promo code TIRE, 15% off all orders store-wide. And now, back to the show.
well, certainly
Yes,
compared to the fact that to the point you've made, the amount of money like that people have been spending on golf forever.
Yeah.
If golf's not your thing, let's do this with the car. It makes
golf
all
membership
sense.
costs at a great course.
Wildly expensive. Yes.
Crazy crash.
May as well have done the car country club because it's going to be about the same. I totally hear you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, crazy money. it costs to join a great golf course.
Yeah.
It's been interesting to see.
Sometimes a 10-year waiting list or something. to
Totally.
get in, you know.
Absurd.
Totally.
It's been interesting to see how many of these country clubs are popping up. We've heard of Flat Rock, Tennessee. We've heard
Yeah,
of
that's the new one.
That's the new one coming up.
We're
There's
trying to use that
Florida.
one for the next road and track.
Oh, are you?
Smoky
Oh, interesting.
Mountain event.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Because
Yeah, yeah.
otherwise, your only option is NCM, which love it.
Sure.
I love NCM. What a great track.
Mm-hmm.
But it messes up our drive route. I don't want to go to Bowling Green. I want to keep it to the Smokies.
Right.
But
Got
there's
it.
no
Yeah, yeah,
track
yeah.
there now.
Sure,
So
sure.
I have it forces us into Kentucky.
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
I don't necessarily
Sure.
want to be. I want to be in Tennessee
It's
and
out of
North
your way.
Carolina. Yeah,
For sure.
Flat Rock
So-
looks promising.
So we're seeing what else? Some in Texas, a few in Florida, South Florida.
Yeah.
Now we're just
Concourse
hearing,
Club. Have you been
Yeah,
to Concourse
yeah.
Club.
So we're hearing
shout
more
out
and more.
to shout out to Aaron at the Concourse Club. Do you know Aaron?
No.
Don't.
The man.
Awesome.
That's cool.
Shout out to him, Smoking Tire listener.
Awesome.
The coolest.
That's
if you,
cool.
If you need to
Okay.
use the Concourse Club, I will connect.
All right, good. It's
Fantastic.
good to know.
It's a
good to know.
beautiful facility, and it's by far the closest track to a major metro area that I know. When I go there,
Interesting.
I stay in a hotel on Miami Beach.
Okay.
I'm on track in the Concourse Club in 30 minutes.
Aaron, nice to meet you virtually. Can't
seriously,
wait
yeah.
to meet you. Thanks
Yeah,
for
that's
listening.
Dr. Aaron.
So that place
Can't
is
wait to meet
different
you.
because unlike a lot of these other country club tracks where it's a weekend destination, Concourse Club is let me go for the afternoon.
Sure,
Ah,
sure. Yeah,
And
because
then
of
sleep in
location.
my own bed because
That's
in
amazing.
Miami.
Yep. Wow,
Yeah,
that's
it's
really
awesome.
cool.
Yeah.
That's
So
great.
a lot of the tracks that we do are primarily West Coast. So Laguna Seca, Sonoma, Thunderhill. Those are the kind of the big three for Northern California. Southern California just doesn't have a good track anymore. Willow is Willow is
Chuck
Willow.
Walla is our best track.
Yeah,
but it's
but
so
it's near nothing.
inconvenient.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I know it
Yeah.
stinks.
Yeah.
it's our best track
Yeah.
too.
Just crazy.
The tarmac is so good. The layout is so
They
good.
just-
That's
It's
all I've ever
easy
heard
on
people
cars.
say. That's all I've ever heard
Yeah.
people say. That's how great it is. And I have never been there, but I know where
You've
it is.
never
I'm
been?
like, no, I know
Oh,
where it is. I
Chuck
just keep
Walla is
thinking
such a
it's
fun
near
track.
nothing. Yeah.
Did they just resurface recently?
I
Or is it
haven't
just-
been there in
just a
about
decent
18
track?
months, so I
No
don't
kidding.
know. But it is a wonderful place to drive, and it's one of my favorite places to test because it's easy on cars. There's like I don't know 16 corners,
Okay.
and there's only one really heavy braking zone where you're going to smoke your brakes, and then there's a whole bunch of really nice kind of third and fourth gear
That's great.
corners.
Nice.
And when a track is in the middle of the desert, you don't, and it's hot as
It's out there.
fuck. You don't want that track to be super hard on brakes.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's a really nice, fun, flowy track, and the runoff is super, super safe. If something happens, like you're probably not going to break your car if you go off there, which I really like. Unlike like
people like to
Willow,
hear.
which is like a problem.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and
Willow.
what's going to happen to Willow? It'll be interesting to see. But
Yeah.
but frankly,
sale for a
Willow's
while
never
now.
been a really fun track to drive. I don't feel like.
No, Streets.
Streets is better.
of
Streets is
Willow
good.
is better. Yeah,
Big
is
Willow
a
is-
very fun track
Yeah.
to drive. Big Willow has the history
And the speed, but
I don't.
okay.
There's people that love Big Willow,
Mm-hmm.
and I am not one of them.
If somebody bought it, of course, for the right price, I still think they're asking too much. We've heard all kinds of numbers. I don't know what you've heard, but they're all absurd numbers for what it is. But
We'll
if somebody
talk
bought
after
it,
the show.
okay,
Okay,
fantastic.
good. All right.
There's things. There's
Okay.
things
Things
in
going
the work
on?
that cannot be spoken of
Fair enough.
publicly. We'll talk after.
Good. I love to hear those rumors.
All
We've
right,
heard
all
some
right.
too. It'll
We'll
be
leave
good
it
to
there
hear.
then.
Yeah.
We'll move on.
But it's let's just say it's looking up.
Okay.
It's good to hear. It's good to hear. Okay.
Nice.
Without being able to add any more of that.
That's fair. That's
But
fair.
let me ask you something, because now you're in the wholesale track day business.
yeah, sure.
How much is Laguna for a day? Quiet day, not a loud day. 30?
30,
30?
40.
35.
Is it still the most expensive track in the country?
Probably.
I think
well,
it was
with the,
last I
with the
checked.
exception of Coda.
Coda's up there.
Coda.
Yeah.
Right.
But Coda's, I mean, Circuit of the Americas, it's
But it's an
F1 track.
F1
There you
track,
go.
right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, dollar for dollar, I'd rather Laguna.
Okay.
And now they're managed by Friends of Laguna.
Yes.
So that is all that
Shout out to Bruce.
stuff. Yeah.
Uncle Bruce 2.
Bruce is
Uncle Bruce
now in
1 is
charge.
Bruce Meyer. Uncle Bruce 2 is
There you
Bruce
go.
Canepa.
Bruce
I like
Canepa.
it. That's good. That's good.
right.
Yeah.
So now that is
My other
under
Uncle Bruce.
They're awesome.
nice under new management,
Right.
or new concessionaire, we'll
Yeah,
say.
Yeah.
But everything is behind them that you've heard about for Laguna Seca in the past.
Yeah.
That is all in the past.
Well, they're going to
They have
try
a
to do
great future.
some sound mitigation, right? Possibly
Yep.
some new walls, possibly some measures to help
Yep.
keep the neighbors happy without negatively affecting our ability to drive the track.
For sure.
True, and they've been doing a lot of new sound
Which
testing.
is like fine.
Yeah, totally.
Also, something interesting, they told us they are actually doing measurements for particular cars. They pointed out that even Indy cars running there don't need the 105 decibel days.
Get the fuck out of here.
That's what we were told by John at the track. So
Bro, I got kicked out of
he
there
said-
in an Evora GT
Well,
in turn 5. If I go
it
through it in
depends-
third gear, I blew sound. In fourth gear, I
sure.
did not.
Well, but the other
upshift.
issue that happens, and these are all the things. A year ago, Matt, none of this was on my radar. Now it's all on my radar.
Well, now it's your business.
Totally.
It's the business, yeah.
But you know,
Want to talk
sound.
about concrete?
Totally.
concretes and permits.
Sound is cumulative. So the other thing that happens is if you have somebody loud in front of you and you come around the corner, their exhaust can bounce off the bridge before 6 and come back and be cumulative on top of your exhaust.
So
I've
an
had,
IndyCar
And
may not blow.
exactly
An
right.
IndyCar race.
will probably blow. Yeah,
Here's
but
the
so
difference. The concessionaire is new, so they now have a list of research, and that is now not made public.
Okay. So you don't
there's
know.
there's
Correct.
a lot of
They will
hopefully
know
new things they can do
because
yeah.
it's by car, but it's not necessarily public information that needs to be released. So that
I mean,
is
listen,
helpful.
there is no more fun subgenre of automotive engineering than the Laguna exhaust mod.
Yes, absolutely.
It is by far the most fun and silly. You know, there should why there
Yes.
wasn't a Top Gear special on the Laguna
Yes,
mod.
absolutely.
There really should. You know,
It's a
these
thing.
GT3s you see with this
Right.
big bird ass fucking scaffolding. on the
Totally.
back of it. It's hilarious.
When I bought my
true.
Elise 7 years ago, in the box of extra stuff the guy had, he's like, "So here's your Laguna pipe," and
No
I
way.
started laughing. I was like,
Yeah.
"You've got to be kidding!" I knew exactly what he meant, but I was like, "It's just this, you know, turned 90 degrees
Yeah,
thing." I'm like, "It's an
points
Elise.
left.
It's not
Yeah.
that big a deal. Just put it
Points
on like
left.
that." Okay, of course. Yeah.
Maybe every decibel counts.
Absolutely.
Some of them
Yeah.
run the length of the bumper.
Yeah.
Except
Yeah.
all the way
Some
on the
of them
left.
are bad big,
Yes.
like,
Stick out in
dude,
the
we're just
wind.
gonna Google real quick. Laguna Seca exhaust mod.
There it
Yep.
is.
Dude, image
There you go,
image
perfect.
results. The
That's
image
gold.
results
That's
on
gold.
this turns out. So here's your 996. Your 996
That's
GT3.
fantastic.
This looks like it's
Great.
an MV Agusta motorcycle exhaust.
No, it absolutely looks like that.
put
You're
on
right.
there. Here's a C7.
Trumpets.
Look at the trumpets.
Of course.
Oh, look at this guy. Here's a GT3 RS.
You've got to be kidding.
That
Well,
looks
good way to
like my
advertise
laundry
Boiler.
room, bro. And like it's the funniest.
It's ridiculous.
Oh shit! I'm so sorry. I have failed our audience by not pulling these up on the screen. Sorry, I'm bad at producing. The more bourbon I drink, the worse I'll be at producing. Look at this one. Oh boy, a cup car. It's got 2 cherry bombs
See,
on
That's
there.
sticks out in the
astounding.
wind.
That's astounding. It's all the way around to the driver's side by the
and
time
then,
he's
of course,
finished.
motorcycle.
Yeah.
Motorcycle's got the double pipe, right? So
There
here's
we
his.
go.
This is what this guy drives when he gets onto Highway 68 to go back to the
Yes.
fucking Portola.
Yes,
exactly.
This dude's ripping this like 8-inch exhaust, and then he has to put this 18-inch can on to run on the track.
Well, it's one of the conversations
so funny.
that
Oh,
we've
look at this
had.
one.
Oh man,
Oh, Pelican Parts Forum. Show us
Oh,
your
yes.
Laguna. Oh.
Show us your
Oh,
pipes.
this is like fucking
Yeah,
old school.
we have to
All right,
read
we're
it.
not. It's not going to work.
Funny.
Sorry, but yeah, the Laguna mods are amazing. Folks, we got to take one quick break for my bookie, America's favorite sports betting service. They're celebrating their 10-year anniversary by not only supporting this show, but offering special deals for you guys, such as risk-free Thursdays. Normally, if you bet on something and you lose, you don't get anything. But with MyBookie's risk-free Thursdays, when you bet, if you lose, they wipe it, meaning you can only win. You can't lose. Huh? What? For those of you who've been playing with MyBookie, this is how it works. You got brand new loyalty rewards program with MyBookie Plus. It's simple. The more you play, the more you earn. And as you progress through the tiers, unlock exclusive promotions, epic giveaways, and cash back in your account. Plus, there's that bet big on risk-free Thursdays. And if your boosted bet doesn't hit, you get your money back. Weekly, no sweat, win-win bets all season long. So whether it's an underdog upset, backdoor cover, or a shootout between two Lombardi contenders, MyBookie is here to help you cash in on every single moment. Right? Right. You know, if you got some downtime, you can do what I do in my downtime. Pull up MyBookie and get in on the action of that day's games. Fall is here. That means football, basketball is coming in. It's going to be a big one, folks. Sign up at MyBookie and use promo code TIRE to get a double deposit bonus. You can literally double the cash in your account before you place your first bet. But don't wait on it. It's only available for a limited time. Turn that football knowledge into big-time payouts at MyBookie. And don't forget that double deposit bonus with code TIRE. At MyBookie, you can turn this season into a winning season.
What's one of the conversations we've had there that's actually been really funny is that, you know, the quietest days, if you will, at Laguna are 92 dB.
Sure.
And what's funny about that is Highway 68, the road out front, is 95.
Oh, so it's to be quieter.
California is
California
95.
roads.
So funny.
So the fact that they even have days that are less than the California Department of Transportation is hysterical to me.
Unbelievable.
But okay.
Yeah.
But hey, I'm just glad that it's with
They're working
Friends
on
Laguna
changing
now.
that.
We'll see.
There's some work to be done behind the scenes.
But we're glad with
Still
Friends
being
Laguna
sorted
now.
out.
We know John Narigi and all the folks there. They're great. We've met a lot of people in the last year. But it's been amazing to actually go to these track days and to watch people, and this sounds crazy, to watch people have fun. Because when we took the company over, it was all about the company stuff. And it was like this vertical wall of learning. It wasn't even a learning curve. It was just straight up for a while. And we finally got to come to some of our own track days now and realize
so interesting
this is
to
so
not
cool.
start a business, to buy one
Yes.
that's like it's like jumping on a treadmill,
Yes.
right? Full pace.
Yes.
It's jumping on the treadmill.
Full blast
How
going.
long was David? What was the fade?
The overlap.
How long was the
interesting
fade?
you asked that because, you know, and it wouldn't be any different if somebody were to buy Everyday Driver because Paul and I are so embedded and we built the things as we needed them, right? So that was David with Hooked on Driving. He built and added things as necessary. So it's one of those realities where it was hard even for him to kind of describe everything he did or everything he does.
Yeah.
So what
would
we
you
actually
say?
did.
You do.
Exactly. So what we actually did is we said, you know, we need you to go away for a couple of months completely and create a vacuum so we can understand, oh, David was doing this. Oh, David was doing that.
Interesting
So he went
strategy.
away for a couple of months, and then he's come on with us for 6 months as a consultant, and that's been really helpful to answer all the other questions and
That's an
solve the
interesting
things.
plan. I would have been afraid to do that.
Well,
Things
it
reveal
was-
themselves
yes.
very quickly.
Yes, that was the
when
key
there's
thing.
a vacuum. Suddenly
Yeah,
that didn't get done. Why didn't it get? Oh, that's what you were doing. Oh, that's how we need to do
Yeah.
it. Or
That's so
we've already
interesting.
come up with a better
Did you
way.
before he went away? Did you say, "Look, I need you to spend 2 days and write me a document for what you believe your job is"?
We knew we didn't have it that clearly, but we had it kind of. We had built it over time. 'Cause we've been talking with him for nearly a year. We kind of built over time. So this is stuff David should do, and this person should do it now, or we should handle that. And we kind of understood, but that was the whole kind of vacuum strategy. That when he stepped away, we were like, "Oh, there's a bunch more stuff." Okay,
Sure.
Or okay, so
He had
that
shit
was.
that he had on autopilot that he didn't even
Exactly.
know
Correct.
was his
Surprise.
And other people
Yeah.
didn't even think that was being done by David. So that
Right.
was actually really helpful to
Yeah,
us
yeah.
to kind of understand quickly. And then to have him as a consultant has been really good.
So
but
interesting.
the main people that we have, like in NorCal, it's Terry is our lead operations, and Tupper, who's been lead instructor forever, are phenomenal. And 2 days after we took
I think
the company
I met them
over,
at Sonoma.
you probably have.
I think I met them at Sonoma
Yeah.
for a gig.
They've
Yeah,
been
yeah.
around forever.
Cool.
2 days after we took over the company, there was our first track day, and of course we weren't at it. So thank God it was already set up to already run. You know, so we've been able to kind of zoom out and be high level and be really blessed by the fact that all those people are already there, understanding it, and now we're just trying to tweak things.
That's
and it's
great.
ongoing.
Yeah, it's great.
And it was important to us, vital to us, to buy a company that worked.
Yeah.
Because we have a job.
Yeah.
You know, we're trying to keep Everyday Driver going. It needs to keep going. So I can't be like, well, we got to fix this while we're at it. This is just refinements and little stuff, and we're enjoying it.
Well, and you, I'm sure, accurately determined that you, with your audience, can add value. You're not just going to buy into a thing and inertia it out. You can add value by doing the shit you're already doing.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Like it was it's sometimes very frustrating for me, like the YouTube landscape, and I want to talk to you guys about that.
Sure, yeah.
And you found your ways with the Amazon thing and whatever to sort of, you pivot, right? You
Yeah,
pivot
for sure. You have to.
as needed, right?
to, yeah.
But for me, it's like there's been so many times where I go, fuck this, I'm gonna quit making YouTube videos because I don't know about for you, but Q3 was a disaster in ad sales for us. I mean, a proper disaster.
This year in general has been hard, and
Ooh,
that's a
it's been
combination
brutal.
of bad ad sales that I know you've talked about it before, but also obviously we had to scale back our amount of release just because we had this whole other thing we were taking on and trying to understand.
Sure, yeah.
So we've released fewer
A few other
things.
emails came in.
Yeah.
Yeah, a few extras. And then of course, I think you've talked about, others have as well. It's been a difficult year for ad sales across the board.
Terrible, but
Yeah.
Q3 is particularly bad. And I thought it was just us until I went down to Miami to the Concourse Club and I hung out with Ed Bolian, who is really in tune with certain aspects of the ad sales business. Shout out to Ed Bolian. And who was like, oh, Q3 is fucked. I was like, oh, it's not just me? It's fucked for you? Oh, thank God. Like, I want you to succeed, but like, thank God it's not just me.
Yeah.
And Q4 seems a little more promising. But we were like about to quit. I mean, like we were like,
Really?
Yeah. Make from not
kidding.
podcasting, but from making
videos.
YouTube videos.
Videos,
Because
yeah.
it's the most work for the least money. Of
Sure it is.
anything we
Sure
do,
it
it's
is.
the most work for the least money. And even in a good, even an optimized, it's the most work for the least money.
Absolutely it is.
Compared
No
to
question.
podcasting or writing.
Yes.
Or
Yes.
parsing cars.
Return on podcasting is far better.
But the fact is, 30% of the inquiries here at the shop, how did you hear about us? The smoking tire. Most people, in a traditional business, if you were starting a business, call it this one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
What can you do with no audience and no from zero to get 30% of your inquiries from one source? You'd have to spend a fucking fortune.
Yeah,
doing
you would.
that.
Yeah, you would. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get paid to do that, even if it's a very small amount. So the value is there. So for you guys, the value of continuing to create content as an advertisement for your other company,
Yes.
low key.
Yes.
And I talk to Larry Casilla at Ammo about this kind of shit all the time.
I'm sure. Yeah.
YouTube's great if you're promoting something else.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you guys have the Amazon thing, but the YouTube thing. So you're seeing what I'm seeing on the YouTube thing, right?
Yeah, I mean,
us
it's-
old guys are fucked.
Well, I was just thinking about the longevity. We started long ago, as you did, and I'm just thinking through.
What was your first year?
07.
07.
First posted
Before
stuff on
us?
07. Yeah.
Holy shit! Wow.
Yeah,
actually
we are
just
original like cat
back to-
videos and us. Yeah, that's pretty much what it
don't
was.
go back and watch those videos.
It's
They're
all bad,
terrible.
yeah.
Don't go watch them.
Check me out on Street Fire.
Nice. Oh my God, that's
I was
the
on
roughest I've
Street
ever
Fire
heard in
straight
years.
up
Kidding
before I
me.
was on YouTube.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. I totally
And
remember
Derek
them.
D at that point was the longest running show.
Derek D was before I.
Before
Shout out
us.
to him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
Shout
sure,
out to
for
him.
sure.
Yeah. Many people remember that. So anyway, long time is the point.
Yeah.
But, because of that, we survive. And as you do,
I mean, look, the
choice.
80% of this business is just keep fucking going.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
Yes.
Speaking of which, let's talk about keep fucking going.
Okay.
Because I'll give you a choice.
Okay.
You want to talk about keep going? You want to talk about what you're doing, what you're driving, what you're filming? Or do you want to talk about moving on? And what I mean by that is I watched the last episode of the Grand Tour. Did you watch it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
Let's do 2 minutes on that, and then let's talk about what you guys are driving. What did you think of the end of the Grand Tour?
I have never been into the destructo thing. They had a destructive phase.
Sure. When Amazon says do whatever you want, how do
Yeah.
you not do whatever you want?
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
the Beetle was funny. I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah, big time.
But they had a Top Gear destructo phase that just turned me off personally. But it hinted at that, and then it came back around to just friendship and just. You know what? The fact that they got to do this, and that was certainly part of the inspiration for Everyday Driver. You had
And many, many others.
and
yeah.
many others for sure.
Us
we
included.
do,
Yeah, for
we
sure.
do not claim. I think any modern, current automotive journalism, anything, looks to that original Top Gear for inspiration in some form. I mean, we all watched it. We kind of grew up, in a sense, doing that for what we wanted to get out of reviewing cars and driving cars. So certainly inspirational. And then it just stopped. When Clarkson unplugged his mic, there was nothing more profound to say after that. And I realized that was it. He just stopped talking and unplugged the mic. It was
Reminds
okay.
me of like
It was okay.
of I like Billy Joel. Do you guys like Billy Joel?
I like Billy Joel.
These are the last words I have to say.
Mm.
You know, that's the last song he ever wrote. These
Interesting.
are the last words I have to say. It was the last song he ever wrote, and he continued to perform. But,
Yeah.
but he
Yeah,
said, "I am my creative output is exhausted." And I thought that, especially considering the two Grand Tour specials before it, seemed like they were pushing into like fairly hokey, land. I thought this last episode was one of the best car films I've ever seen. I thought it was so genuine in the appreciation for the cars, the appreciation for each other, the appreciation for where they were. I thought the things that happened in the film were not concocted. I mean, obviously,
Certainly, they felt less so. Some of them have felt really like, okay, we sat down with a whiteboard.
Yeah.
And this felt much more natural than a couple of the last ones. I don't feel like it was my favorite ever, but it was one of the rare times that I have seen them, to your point, appreciate being there and like each other. Because I feel like so much of the time they have spent, and it's just an approach, and it's been very successful. The only time you see them appreciate each other is by making the other one's lives harder.
Right.
And this, there was some of that, but
dramatically harder.
Yeah.
This Japanese shit is good.
It's not bad, huh?
Feel free to pour yourself another.
Yeah,
That's a delight.
You know, Paul and I love doing road trips. We do a couple of road trip films a year, but we are just earnest, honest guys and can't believe we're there the whole time. I've never really felt that from the Grand Tour Top Gear guys. I feel like they're just in it for the laugh, and some of it's incredibly funny, or the crazy stuff they get to do, which is amazing.
Well, it's hard to not fall into the trap of outdoing yourself.
Yes.
Right? And you can forgive them for that.
Totally. This had some nostalgia to it where they just kind of had that moment to kind of stop and be like, we've really done this for so long. And I felt that with an undercurrent layer of almost relief, like, oh, thank God, this is the last time we have to put ourselves through this. I felt a layer of that in there as well.
Sure. Well, I mean, I'm fortunate enough that I talked to James May a month ago.
Yeah, I heard that one. That was cool.
You know, talk about a gig that doesn't disappoint. I mean, 90 minutes with James May.
Yeah.
The guy was as James May could fucking be.
I love it. I heard that one. It was awesome. Yeah.
It was great. It was great. And if anyone out there hasn't listened to it, please do. His gin is delicious. We were drinking his gin at noon. It was all right.
I love it. That's great. That was a great episode. I loved hearing that. Yeah, for sure.
And it was great. I imagine this last episode was for the people that have been there for a long time. The intention was to close the door on it, to appreciate us as fans.
Yeah.
But also to appreciate each other as hosts.
Yeah.
To appreciate the crew. To it's kind of funny. They were like, and we're staying in hotels now. We're like, we're not, I mean, I'm not, we've done that.
Yep.
Exactly.
And also I thought that the editorial choices of allowing it to unfold very naturally, and without a bunch of set up bits and gags.
I agree.
Was a great choice, and it reinforced that although the set up bits and gags are funny, when you're good enough, you don't need them.
Agreed.
And it reminded me that, like, oh yeah, these are actually the best three people at this, even in their 60s.
Yeah, totally.
Just their, in the English, they use words really well. Just their turn of phrase is so good. When James was here, I was joking that they had like 1,000 ways to say both balls and drunk.
Yep.
Which is very funny.
Nice.
But just their insults for each other and their ways to describe situations are so funny on their own that even if you strip away the bits, it's still great.
Yeah.
It was just such a nice thing to watch. And Hannah watched it with me.
Okay.
And Hannah did not like the Grand Tour. We went to the first episode of the Grand Tour.
Yeah,
I
remember you guys went. Yeah.
She's like, I don't like this at all.
Yeah.
We watched the last episode. She was like, that was really good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Watching that last part, I just thought, okay, so this is how it ends.
Oh, the last 10 minutes of it were so good.
We've all been wondering. For years, we've been wondering, how does this end?
Yeah.
What is the last? What does it look like?
Yeah.
And it didn't disappoint, but there wasn't as much closure as I thought there would be. It still left
closure were you
slightly dangling.
What were you missing?
Well, I suppose the Amazon continuing on with the series, I would have preferred them to close the door and do something completely different. Don't get
They
new
may not
hosts,
have a
just-
choice. Amazon may own the rights to it, and they may be able to do whatever with the brand they want. The guys may not have a choice.
Fair point.
Knowing that, watching the end doesn't feel like closure to me. It feels like, okay, you guys have ended, and now we're going to do something else under the same name, and it's just, that was your time, and now we're going to continue on. It was strange to me. It needed to just stop, and that's
like
it.
The Sopranos, where it's like, don't stop, and just cuts to black.
Just cut it off. So that, I guess
that's a fair point, but I think as a close to them, I thought it was exceptional.
For sure.
Really,
Close to
really
them.
nice.
I just don't want it to go on past
I know
those guys.
Oh, I don't
want to know that.
Yeah.
I didn't want to see Top Gear go on past them either.
Yeah.
But I was a little conflicted because I wanted Chris Harris to get that job, which he did.
Yeah, agreed
And
with that.
I wasn't tied into it beyond being happy for Chris.
Yeah.
But I understood that the BBC had a massive brand they wanted to.
Yeah, big IP
sure,
there for sure.
Yeah. But anyway, I mean, I thought it was great, and if anyone out there still hasn't seen it, they should go do it. So, okay, but you guys have been doing a ton. Okay, so you've got this Emira now. Right?
I do. I have an Emira. I can't believe it, but I have a Lotus Emira.
All right.
Yeah.
Can you not believe it because it's an expensive sports car? Because you waited like 7 years to get it.
Well, no, I can't believe it because it's an expensive sports car. That's point one. But point two is the fact that when it was announced and all the order books filled up, we were not even having a conversation about, what we should do? We should try to get an Emira. It wasn't even on our radar. So then I wasn't on the list until we drove the press car. And we drove the press car, and all of a sudden, I wanted to see if I could get one, but all the order books were a couple-year wait. So then the only reason I ended up with one, and I tell this in the whole video story, is we had a fan who had ordered one very close to the spec I was hoping for, and he reached out to me and said, hey, I can't take this car. Let me show you the spec that I ordered. Would you be interested in taking it over? So that's the only reason. There you go. There's some photos of it.
For some reason,
Hey, look at that.
and I don't know why, I'm not logged into Instagram right now, and I'm not going through the whole fucking process of logging in.
No worries.
So everyone's got to look at the grid and not the zoomed in
That's
post.
fine. That's all
I'm
good.
sorry, but it's a
all
beautiful red, yellow brake caliper. I assume it's a sport, or is it a touring?
It's touring.
It's a touring.
Yeah.
And so how many miles have you put on it so far?
I've got 5,000 miles on it.
And what do you think?
I think it's amazing. Now I have an Elise.
Yeah.
So
and you're a Lotus fan.
I'm a Lotus fan.
You're a fan.
The Elise is that car that I didn't think this when I first bought it, but the longer I have it, the more I feel like it may have to stay forever because there's never going to be another car like that. And I love it so much, but it is a sacrificial car. We've done big road trip films, 2,000 plus miles in the Elise. The people in England that love the Elise are going, what are you doing? Because I've driven it so far, okay?
I drove an Exige across the country and ended up in the hospital. So
I don't recommend it to most people. I admit, and we're big guys. I mean, that's the thing.
Also, don't take it through the car wash.
Yeah, don't do that ever.
Does it
Never.
leak?
Oh gosh,
Very
yes,
British?
yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, very British.
Muy British.
So the Emira, let's be honest, it's 50% heavier than the Elise. The Elise
Which
is
still
2,000
makes it
pounds.
light, by the way.
Yes, I know. And the Emira is 3,200. And the more I drive it, the more I realize, for lack of a better way to put it, this is my Cayman. It is my use it daily. Don't apologize for it. Now I had to get over the hump
I think
of wow,
those
this
cars
is expensive.
are best used as daily drivers.
I agree.
I don't think buying an Emira and keeping it for special occasions is a wise use of your money
totally
or
agree.
your time.
No.
Totally agree.
It's too nice a daily to do that.
So I'm loving driving it all the time for everything. And we just did a road trip with a bunch of fans, and I took my wife with me, and we got to be in the line of cars, leading the line of cars in the Emira, and she was comfortable and I was comfortable. We had a decent amount of luggage, all the things that Unleashed does not allow. So, I'm thoroughly enjoying it, and it
Does your
has
trunk
such a
smell
specialness.
a little bit like plastic?
No,
Is
but
that
it does
only
get,
the press car?
It does get quite hot.
It does. Yes, the
It gets
trunk
quite
gets
hot.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
have to
it does.
just accept. I said to my wife, I said, if there's anything you're taking that can't get hot, it goes in the cabin with us.
Yeah.
None of it goes in the
No
back.
chapsticks.
It's just
no
nothing.
Vaseline.
Yeah,
Yes.
No grocery,
And since
dairy
they
products.
took out the back seats from the Evora, and it's now just a partial shelf. It's actually decent size back
Yeah, it's
there. You
not
could
bad.
put a couple of overhead bags back there sideways if you wanted. So I was like, okay, all that stuff goes with us. And then we just cooked everything, all the clothes in the back. Yeah. You would think they would have solved, because that's an Elise problem. You would think they would have solved, but no, it's just mid-engine car, hot in the back. Does that happen in your NSX?
Stuff in the trunk
stuff
gets
in the
hot?
back get hot or not?
Not really.
Okay, just curious.
Not really.
Just curious. Yeah, it gets quite warm in the back of the Emira.
I mean, I can't say I've. The times where I've driven it, like I've run to the grocery store and home, which is a quick one. The times I've driven it far, I don't remember. I don't think so. I don't.
Okay.
Not enough where I've ever been like, whoa, whereas in the Emira I did.
Yeah.
The Emira is such a nice car.
I'm boggled by it, Matt. Truly, honestly.
Objectively, journalism, Matt, says I think the Cayman is still objectively a better car, but who gives a shit? It's not. Sports cars are not objective. The Emira is such a lovely, fun, well-made, exotic feeling thing. The Emira is like mini McLaren a little bit.
That's how I feel. We've talked about this before. I feel like McLaren now is where Lotus should have grown into. And I cannot believe that that's a car that I own and get to drive. And I'm
it's a keeper,
truly
that
boggled
one.
by it. I hope so. It's just
I
astonishing.
hope so too. I'm so glad you got one.
Yeah, the whole story of getting one was so unexpected. And to have
red
5,000,
is a good color, too.
That's the Magma Red, and
That's a good
I
color.
wanted the Magma Red, not the Vivid Red. And I thought, of course, you're doing the online configurator, going, I think that color is going to look good in real life. I don't know.
Well, that's a it's a tough one.
Always a gamble. But then I actually got to see it for the first time. I was like, yep, that's exactly what I was hoping for. It's not the Ferrari red. It's more kind of a Bordeaux color, and it's great.
Yeah, it's close to what Porsche might call GTS red or Carmine red, which is what my brake calipers are painted. Interestingly enough, because it matches my interior. But it's a beautiful color. It looks really, really nice with the silver wheels. That's a good look.
The guy that I took over his build slot, he had black wheels.
Oh no!
I didn't want black wheels.
Oh no!
And
red and black wheels is a no-go.
Yeah, it's a no-go.
I mentioned that in my
no-go.
first
Agreed.
pickup video, and of course it had black wheels on it, and there it
People
was.
fuck that up all the time. That's a no-go.
So the week that we dropped the video, I totally agree with
Yes.
you. 100% agree with you.
Yes.
A guy reached out to me the week we dropped the video. He was just getting his yellow one with silver wheels.
Okay.
And he said, I really, really want black wheels on my car, and I'm driving home
Yellow and
kind of
black
near you.
is- yes, that's
that
a
could
good-
work.
that's good.
So he
Yes.
literally, nobody'd seen an Emira in Park City yet, but he pulled into Paul's driveway beside the Emira, and we literally just did the fast swap, wheels for wheels, and then
You
he left
fucking
on black
jacked
wheels.
up the car and took
Yes.
the wheels off in
Yep.
the parking lot? Oh,
Yes,
what a boss move.
we totally did. He was like, "You want to swap wheels?" I said, "Absolutely." And you can do the side jack point, and you can get the whole side of the car up at once.
Craigslist M4M swap wheels.
Exactly right.
Do you want to swap wheels, you guys?
Oh my God! So yeah, so he left very, very happy, yellow
leave
with
that
black
there.
wheels, and I'm thrilled, absolutely
That's
thrilled.
amazing. Yeah, the silver wheels are right. I would say if you wanted to go with a gold,
Yeah,
like a bright gold, not like my Spider, which is like a dark, sort of a champagne-y, sort of a duller gold. You could go bright gold wheels, and that would work.
I suppose that would work.
but
yeah,
not as well as the silver. The silver
I love the
is the
silver.
right for that car.
I'm
gold
glad you
wheels, now
approved.
we're
See, I like
talking.
it. See, you're a gold wheel guy. You
Gold
want to put gold wheels on
bronze,
everything. You're all
shades
about
of gold.
it. Yeah.
You like
Oh,
them.
yeah.
I like them too.
Yeah, I love gold.
I'm a big fan of the bronze
Motorsports
wheels.
gold. Love
Yeah,
gold.
yeah.
It's awesome.
So I see there's a post somewhere up here where you did a little analog sort of 100K comparison. You've got
Hasn't come out yet, but it's coming out.
I can't
It's,
click on this goddamn
yeah,
thing.
it's a Ferrari
Do me a favor,
360.
scoop yourself.
Ferrari
That's a 430,
360,
isn't it?
that is
It's
a
got
430.
430 wheels on it,
Oh,
but
it's
it's
a
a 360.
360 with
360 with a
wheels?
manual conversion.
Oh, my
and an
advice would be
NSX.
to not put 430 wheels on a 360.
That's what they had done with that car with the manual
like a
conversion.
430,
Yeah,
but I
We'll
don't-
certainly see in the front
You're
end
right, yeah,
that
But
really
the
looks that way. Yeah.
360 has multiple classy wheel options, and there's also multiple good aftermarket wheels that work
Sure.
on the 360 better than the 430 wheels. You
I
know
hear
what
that. I hear that.
Like 997 wheels and a 996. You ever see that? Yikes!
Yeah,
It's a no-go.
They don't work. Yeah,
That
you're
is
right. You're right.
that is a no-go.
So that
okay,
comes
so it's a
out
360
in
with a manual
360,
swap.
yeah,
that comes out in 6 weeks or so, and the NSX is a 2000. Was it 2002?
That was an 02, and
it was
the
super
360
clean.
It was 01. So yeah,
Yep.
manual swap 360, and I admit to liking Ferrari more and more, except there's just flimsy crap about them
Yeah.
that totally takes away from the driving experience. Except that car was pretty janky and had a lot of miles on it, and we threw a lot of abuse at it, and it was a trooper. It
Is
came
the
through.
person who owns it going to be mad that you just called it pretty janky?
No,
Well,
because they bought it specifically for that reason, to do the manual
Turo
swap.
car?
I don't know if it was Turo.
No,
but
it was
they-
a proof of
they
concept
bought
of the
it
manual swap. So that's
for
why
that
they
reason.
bought the car.
Yeah, yeah.
Meaning Meaning what?
Well,
Did they develop a
no.
manual swap kit?
It's a shop in Salt Lake that is doing it now, and it was their first one. So it was.
They bought a kit and they wanted to make sure it would work, so they bought a fucking
make it get right and do it
Janky
right,
car,
and they bought
and
one
you know
that
which
just.
kit
they bought?
I do, and I have to look
Is
it
it
up.
either EAG or Dr. S?
I'd have to look
I think it was
up.
neither of those
Oh,
actually.
really?
Yeah,
Another one?
yeah.
Cool. I like that there's multiple options now.
Yeah, and it looks very factory. And honestly, the kit was done very, very well. It was really, really good.
Yeah.
So it was
And
just
there's a ton of value in manual swapping a 360 or a 430. I mean, tons of value.
It shouldn't be any other way.
The most value is in the 599. The biggest gap, because the biggest gap by far between a manual and an auto is a 599, because they made like 30 manuals, and one just sold for like $800,000. Yeah, and a fucking auto 599 is like 115 grand.
Well,
they're fucking I mean,
it's crazy.
With respect to the value of money, they're nothing.
Yeah, comparatively.
Comparatively.
No, I totally get it.
A fucking modern V12 Ferrari
Yeah.
is nothing.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
We
You
have
a manual for 35K, 150 G's. You're in this thing for a manual V12, modern front
And
end.
nobody
Ferrari.
cares. If you tell them it's manual swap, nobody cares.
No one gives a
Fine,
shit anymore.
that
Yeah.
you did it correctly.
You're right,
Yes.
yeah.
Let's have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
We have our
there's no
car
problem.
care sponsor is Griots, and Richard Griot, who runs Griot's Garage, has a 599 manual because
A real one?
he ordered it from the factory that way before they announced they were stopping it. And
Why
he
is
got
Ferraris
it.
so expensive.
He got it and then discovered that he happened to have one of the last ones, and it wasn't something he set out to do. He just wanted a 599.
Yeah.
He was like, I want that in manual. And it showed up, and it was like, oh, this car's worth a ton now.
Well, early on, it was the reason there's so few of those is not because Ferrari limited them. The take rate was just terrible.
Abysmal. Yes,
Yep.
agreed. Yeah.
Same with 430s. The take rate was like 3% or something. The take rate was nothing.
Yeah, which is why they stopped. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. It didn't make any business sense for them.
Yeah.
As much as we would love them to continue, there was no business case to do so.
100%. It's a crazy thing.
Yeah.
That it's our fault
Yeah, you're right.
as consumers.
You're right,
It's
yeah.
it is our fault.
Well, and I
Put it
think
like that.
the twist of the GT3 is the other interesting part. Is the GT3 gets released as PDK only, and people freak out, and so they start offering the manual again, and then the take rate's been pretty good. I don't know that would happen if Ferrari went back to manual, but I do think they lost something
Ferrari
special.
could charge a fortune
You're
for
right,
stick
they could.
shift cars.
You're
right
right,
now.
they could.
So
if they
it's
came
now a
out,
business
you're right.
case to
Yeah.
make manuals
Ferrari-
again.
Well,
We'll see.
I
There's a
believe,
business case.
Doug DeMuro and I both believe
It's interesting.
that there is a massive amount of money to be made with selling low volume. Like if they did the Daytona, like the Daytona SP3 thing that
Sure,
Ferrari's
sure.
doing,
Yeah.
Right.
it's $3 million. And now we're playing with funny fucking war criminal money, right?
Ridiculous money, yes, for sure. You're right. You're
But if
absolutely
it was, but if they, what would it cost them to develop a manual version of that? It would be less than the $2 million premium they could absolutely get for it.
You're right.
Per unit. Per unit.
You're
it would
right,
probably
you're right.
cost them $5 to $10 million total to develop a manual for that car, and they could probably sell 100 of them at a $2 million premium.
Oh, shoot. Everybody blamed Ferrari for stopping selling manuals, and that's what caused the industry shift. And so now if they started again,
Yeah.
I thought we already saved the manuals. Does this really save the manuals?
We could.
they're extra saved now.
Like they're extra
Super
saved because we
saved,
figured
yeah.
that out?
I was fortunate enough that McLaren hosted me for Pebble Beach, and I had dinner with. I'm sitting at dinner, and it's Michael Leiters, the CEO of McLaren,
Okay.
Nicholas Brown on the other side of me, the CEO of McLaren of America, and I'm just going, do you know how much money you could make?
You're leaving money on the
if
table.
you made a stick shift McLaren? He goes, I know.
How far did that conversation go?
Fucking, he tapped the next person. He goes, "Get me the fuck out of here." It went that
That's
far.
funny.
It went
That's
far
very
enough that
funny.
he wanted to like run away from me
That's very funny.
because we had
Okay.
7 bottles of $800 wine,
Oh
and I
my
was like,
gosh.
"By the way,
Manuals.
you could make a manual."
Excuse me.
I was the most annoying person.
That's very funny.
Well, at
That's
least
very
they
funny.
know because that needs to be. If somebody would only do it. If somebody would only do it, then everyone else would do it.
I think there's a huge amount of money to be made in certain cars that were never available in manual, but
Yeah.
to do it. Yeah.
Well, because manuals are the greatest. They make the greatest car ever, and if it's not a manual, it's not valid as a
You've been
as a
reading the
car.
internet, haven't you?
That's apparently what the
Yeah.
internet says.
Yeah,
so
that's-
I mean, we crave engagement,
Yes,
and
that is
the
true. For
sure.
OEMs are not delivering it in new cars in the way that a lot of people are really seeking.
Well, that brings us to something we actually just drove. We just drove the Ioniq 5 in.
thank you. I was just
Oh,
thinking
yeah.
of that.
And we
I
were
love it.
fascinated
It's awesome.
by
Oh, it's a great time,
we
right?
were fascinated by the fakery that makes it more engaging.
The future is fake, everyone.
It was just
Yeah.
it was
It's the
fascinating.
big fake titties of cars.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Lie to
You're
me.
absolutely right. Yes.
Lie to me.
Yes.
But lie convincingly.
Yes, and I will
don't
love
give
it.
a fuck. I'm on board.
That is a great analogy. I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
We were pleasantly surprised by it, actually kind of amazed by it, because you're simultaneously intellectually aware that everything you're enjoying about this is utterly fabricated,
Yes.
but it's making you enjoy it more.
Doesn't matter.
Yep.
Does
I'm
not matter.
Fine with that.
But you have to acknowledge the fact, the talent it took
oh
to
yeah,
get to that.
Absolutely. No, it's a
right?
victory
Because
in that regard.
It's so close to being hokey and shitty.
Yes.
And if it was a couple of percentage points either way, you'd be like, oh, yikes, no. But because
Yeah.
it accurately represents what I want out of a car,
Yep.
the power band, the
Yeah.
gear changes, and the sounds tell me what the car is doing in the way an EV tells me nothing.
Because it adds, we've been talking about this collectively, it's adding reference points
Right.
that are
Right.
completely missing in the
Yes.
EV experience.
Yes.
And those reference points suddenly make you more involved in, oh, I am driving this, and here's what's going on, and here's the step I'm on, and now I understand how fast I'm going and what the car might do dynamically.
Yes.
Just because these fake reference
Yeah.
points. Now, they relate to real things going on speed-wise.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how all we've done is add reference, and that's made it better.
Yes.
Well, I did find myself downshifting and blipping the throttle as I was coming into a stoplight to make everyone else around me not hear what I was doing.
Well,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
No, there's a difference.
Crap.
We do not want. And
No one heard
I'm
me.
speaking for you.
Pipes save
We do
lives.
not want outside speakers.
Agreed.
No,
I
we
do
don't.
not
Totally
want
agree.
outside
No.
speakers.
That was the funniest thing
But
about
I found
it.
myself going, yeah, I'm cool, blipping on the downshift, and you didn't hear that.
Yeah, just
Crap. Yeah,
sounds utterly like an
you don't
EV
even know
from
I'm
outside.
there.
You have no idea.
And I was like, cabin
None.
full of noise and downshifting and blipping
Yeah.
the throttle.
But
It was-
you know, my apologies to the audience for having to listen to this again. If you're Porsche and you're coming out with an electric Cayman and Boxster,
yes,
how are you not top of mind going,
correct.
this is
Yes.
the thing? And
Yeah.
not only is this
Yeah.
the thing, I need, because the new fucking, if I hear SDV one more time, I'm going to blow my fucking brains out. For those who know what I'm talking about, that's software defined vehicles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Forget DEI. Forget CRT. Both of which I'm for, by the way. On the record, I'm for both
Okay.
of those things. SDV is software defined vehicles. If Porsche is not going, what we need to do is create a downloadable car pack of power to weight, torque curves, gear ratios, and soundtracks, a best of our entire history. Today I'm driving a
Interesting.
550 Spider
Sure.
with accurate
Sure.
power to weight, gear ratios, shift points, and engine sounds. Tomorrow I'm driving a 935
Yeah.
Kramer.
Yeah.
Next day I'm driving a GT3 RS. The next
Interesting.
day I'm driving
Yeah,
this. If you're not, how the fuck are you not on this like yesterday? Because you have a back catalog.
Their history is so deep for that. Why not? I totally
Right?
get
It's
it.
connected directly to your Amex and Visa for the
course it is.
downloads. Is it
Yeah.
do you know
not?
how much? Do you know how much money I would pay for that?
Anyone would
I would pay a ton of money.
make
Yes.
me poor.
I would pay. I would probably pay. Let's just be real. What would you pay for that? Yeah, let's say an electric, the Cayman E
Okay.
is $8.99 a month. Just make that up.
Okay.
$8.99 a month
the car.
For the car.
Okay.
For the car.
Okay. What are you going to pay a month to have the car be able to mimic any car in Porsche's history? Call it 50, 60 cars, synthetic torque curves, power to weights, and sounds.
50,
That's
60.
astounding.
Does it
I would
change monthly?
pay-
Does it? Are there
Yeah,
new
updates, a subscription pack,
subscription pack,
to
monthly
the
subscription.
library.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah,
pay
yeah.
between $50 and $100 a month.
I would pay $150.
That much? Okay.
Yeah, I'd
It's
pay
the, it's the
$150.
Porsche of the month club.
the Porsche of the month.
You
There
have
we
your
go.
Porsche, but every month you get a
I'll
new
tell you
kind of
what,
sound.
specials.
I'll tell you what,
Ooh.
I'd pay like $25 a month to get access to like 5.
Sure.
That would change every month.
Yeah.
And I'd pay $150 a month for the full kit.
To get the catalog. I've got it. I can do whatever. Yeah.
Except I still think if Porsche develops the new Cayman and Boxster and they do not bring out either a hybrid or an ICE version of it, they're leaving a lot of money on the table.
Well, I think
too.
the GT cars will be gasoline.
I think
They've selectively used wording that leaves the door open for the GT cars to remain gasoline.
Okay, so if the lower...
Yeah, the Boxster
It'll
and the
be like
Cayman.
it'll be like
Boxster
the
S,
base
maybe.
4-cylinder now that we have will no longer exist. That'll be
Right.
EV, but you get up into the GTS, that might still have a 4.0.
Yeah.
Theoretically.
They might
We'll
maybe
hope
use
so.
the
We'll see.
hybrid out of the,
They've left the door
911 and then go full just straight, no turbo, naturally aspirated.
Well, the hybrid engine might fit in a Cayman. I'm not really sure. There's like the way the gearbox
the whole
mounts on
point.
there, it's like a different story. I don't know exactly, but you haven't driven 911 GTS
We haven't.
yet.
We haven't. We really want to. And,
It's
but
all right.
yeah,
Isn't it?
everything we've heard is that it's really, really
Yeah,
good.
it's
I mean,
great.
I don't have to be swayed to know
it's
that.
great.
Yeah, you're a Porsche fan, period.
I
It's not-
kind of know that
yeah.
inherently
You
already.
cannot feel the hybrid system. If I didn't
That's
tell
amazing.
you it was there, you wouldn't know.
Which is what
I have to think
That
that's
needs to
going to
happen.
sweep through their whole lineup. I have to think it's going to. That tech's got to be something they're going to start putting
the
elsewhere.
tech could be used. They could down tune essentially the car
Sure.
for the Cayman and Boxster usage.
I want them to keep the GT3 line, but if all the Carrera range became hybrid, I wouldn't be super upset. I would like a manual Carrera T to remain.
Yeah.
You know
that
what
would
I mean?
differentiate the lineup even more instead of 26
I
different
think their
models
goal,
of the same
I think
certainly,
their
yeah.
goal is to differentiate each subvariant a little further besides just power levels and little bits of option packs.
Sure.
Because you could turn an S into a GTS with options.
Yeah,
True.
straight up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You can.
And they
Yeah,
wanted
yeah.
that to not be possible anymore. They wanted
gives
you
them
to,
that
they
option
wanted a
now.
completely unique powertrain. I loved it. I loved hybrid. I thought it was great. It was
We're
fucking
excited to drive
rad.
it for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
need to
I
drive
don't
that.
think cars are here yet, are they?
I don't think so.
I got very spoiled. I got to go to Spain and drive it as Scari, which fucking
Oh,
so sick.
the Scari's on my
Scari's
list.
so sick.
I would love
now
to
that
drive
you guys
that
have a track day company, here's one for you.
Okay.
What track that you had never heard of a year ago have you gotten to drive and liked? Does
We're going to drive. Well, we've heard
Unfortunately, we haven't
stuff.
driven
We
very many.
actually driven.
Unfortunately, we haven't done a whole lot of driving on the
busy being
racetracks.
the bosses. So
Yeah.
gosh, I guess more East Coast tracks are on our radar, and I suppose all the gentleman driver, the country clubs.
The country clubs.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean,
just hearing more about those. I
Hedge
suppose.
Hollow that we just heard about, I want to drive
Hedge
that
Hollow,
track.
yeah.
And a track I had heard about and then forgot about until we bought Hooked on Driving that is on my personal shortlist now as well as Palmer.
Oh.
I thought you'd driven it, haven't you?
yeah, I
I
have.
really want to drive. I've heard it's
Palmer
great.
is amazing.
I really
It
want to
is
drive that.
So dangerous.
I love it.
So dangerous. Yeah. You don't want to go off there, but it's gorgeous. Bring a drone.
You don't want
Okay.
to go off on
Yeah,
any
yeah.
track, right?
No, I mean, there's places where it's like, all right.
Yeah.
But like Palmer, the elevation.
I'm very excited about it. I'd love to drive it. Yeah.
The views, you have to have the shot that is possible for you to get a rising drone shot through the climbing S's. Unbelievable. It's so pretty.
It's one of those tracks that when and it may have been you or
Okay.
somebody else, but when I first saw a video of it, I was like, "That track's cool," and then it totally like fell into the back of my brain, and I forgot about it. And then we bought Hooked on Driving. I was
that's
like,
a
wait,
good one.
Palmer! I got to go there. I really want to go.
I drove the M6 GT3 there.
Ooh.
The Turner Motorsports, the race car.
Okay,
Yeah, it was amazing.
that sounds awesome.
It was so
Yeah,
good.
I've heard that the infrastructure in town is not great, but the track is amazing.
No,
so I
but
really,
the track.
yeah,
I mean, like so many brilliant racetracks.
That's okay.
It's
Yeah.
just it's in the middle of nowhere.
That's a
Near
fact of
nothing.
life.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm doing Performance Car of the Year next week. It's a Thunderhill.
We can tell you one of the two restaurants you're going to eat at. Yep.
Yeah, the Mexican.
Yeah, exactly. Of course you are.
The Mexican or the airport one. Whatever,
Exactly,
you know.
exactly right. Those are your options. Welcome. Yep.
I think Thunderhill is perhaps the most inconvenient racetrack in North America. I don't know of any racetracks that are more of a pain in the dick to get to than Thunderhill.
Oregon
It's a fun
Raceway
track.
Park. I submit Oregon Raceway Park out there in the middle of nowhere.
It's like 90 minutes, 2 hours east of Portland.
It's
Yeah.
for sale.
There's
by the way.
nothing there. Yeah, there's nothing there. Yeah.
There's something there. There's people who make fucking bombs out there. 90 minutes east of Portland.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. Oregon, let's call it 30 miles from the ocean. What a delight. East of that, it's a no-go.
That's funny. That's
Unless
very
you're
funny.
starting a cult, in which case Wild, wild country, baby. Let's fucking do it. Let's poison some buffets. Let's get on this bitch.
There's work to do.
Did you not see that documentary?
Oh, man.
No, I have not.
Oh, watch Wild, Wild Country. Yeah, cults go to Eastern Oregon.
Okay.
That's what's up.
Didn't know
with
that.
Eastern. Yeah,
Right.
Eastern Oregon's bad. It's not good.
There's a racetrack out there, just in case you were
Oh,
wondering.
good. Also, maybe it's the cult of
People,
motorsport.
people
There you
like
go.
it.
Yeah.
Just get back to Portland before nightfall.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't eat at the
We're leaving.
buffets.
We're not staying here. We're going home.
Oh boy. All right. So the reason I brought up the Emira versus the NSX is because, you know, I have an NSX and I've driven the Emira,
Yeah.
and I wanted to get your thoughts because I own the other one. You know, I own the NSX,
Yeah,
and you own the Emira.
Yeah.
And so I've objectively, you know, I've driven both, and I know what my car is and isn't, and
Yeah.
you know what your car is and isn't. So how did it feel to get in an O2 or whatever it is NSX as a journalist, as the owner of an Emira?
Well, the thing I had forgotten, because when we drove the original NSX and the revision years ago, and I had forgotten that when we drove those, the guy that owned the original, it was like a 94, 95, was taller than we are and had done some tall man mods, and I fit really, really well. And I had forgotten about that until I got in the O2 and went, I don't fit in this very well. And I don't know how
Remember
much.
what those tall man mods were?
I don't remember. But he was
It had mostly to do
6'5".
with
I'm
the
on
seat
the
rails.
Yeah.
I'm on the line.
Yeah.
Real close.
So I didn't fit very well, and that disappointed me, and I had forgotten about that
There's
until I got in
also,
that
if it's
car.
a pre-T, you have more headroom.
Yeah.
Fixed roof car has an inch.
Yeah.
Right.
The T, you lose an inch because of that B pillar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but the big takeaway for me of the two, and I talk about this in the piece as well, but it's obviously much more expanded. I feel like the Emira is what the NSX should have been Gen 2.
Right. Totally.
And Acura
Same
goes
family.
off, and
Same
technology
vibe.
chases the what was it, the 918. It kind of feels like the Acura's chasing the 918, and they
Oh,
did
for
it for
sure.
less money, and it's very cool, and it's a technological powerhouse, and I get it. But I think what everybody was hoping for from your car to the second-gen NSX is pretty much
basically
what the
that.
Emira is.
You're totally right. Totally right.
I can't believe that Lotus is selling that car now. Hydraulic steering, supercharged engine. Awesome.
Yeah.
Bring it.
Yeah.
I just am
Mid-engine,
amazed
yeah.
that
Yeah.
that is
Things,
being
yeah.
sold right now, and
Yeah.
I think an Acura.
Not for long.
Yeah, totally. They're saying
You know
maybe
what's
2
crazy,
years.
though?
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but like after driving the Emira, my NSX steering feels so slow. The steering
Yes.
ratio
That's
Yes.
because it is.
so slow.
It's like 17-1, and it's
crazy.
it's that
how slow
90s
it is.
setup, and it's cool, but it's like
Yeah.
I got to move this a lot.
Yeah, it's weird, right?
Yeah.
That's why I actually don't like my NSX in the canyons all that much.
Oh, because there's a lot of movement.
It's not my vibe.
Sure.
I love the NSX. I drove it to Vegas.
Oh yeah.
Oh, what a
Fantastic
treat!
car, yeah.
What a treat! Fucking the comfort, the trunk space.
Yeah.
I loved it. I love cruising around in it. I love taking it to breakfast in Malibu. I do not like hitting the canyons in my NSX.
I actually love the cabin in the NSX. It's one of my all-time
it's great.
favorites.
The low dash.
It's so
I mean,
spectacular.
it's fantastic.
I'm a big fan of
But
it.
that steering, the brakes suck. I'm looking in. There's a. I gotta make some phone calls. The parts are kind of discontinued, but I'm trying to fucking. Apparently, Stop Tech has something, but
Really?
the brakes aren't very good in the
Yeah.
NSX. But I love it as a cruiser.
Sure.
It's a great,
Sure.
great cruiser. But it doesn't inspire me to go fast the way the Emira does or the Cayman.
Sure,
Or the- or
and
my
we
Spider.
actually did we have a big road trip film coming up in about 3 or 4 weeks, and we went from Park City out to the Sierras, like the Lone Pine area near Mount Whitney, and then we finished that track day.
Lone Pine is great, isn't it?
It's so cool to be up there. So we did a lot of stuff off the 395, and we finished at one of
John
our track
Lynch.
days at Sonoma. So we got to put the Emira, and even though we'd driven it and reviewed it before I owned one, I hadn't put it on track. So I got to put my Emira on Sonoma. First time I'd been on Sonoma too,
Yeah.
which was awesome.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I loved it
Oh,
on Sonoma. I had
Sonoma's
so
a
much
great
fun.
time,
It's a
isn't
great
it?
track. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
really
it's
great.
good one.
Sonoma was awesome.
Good one.
Really like that. Man.
Really, really challenging.
Yes, for sure.
Challenging
It's
track.
one of those tracks
Lot
where
of
you better get it
nuance.
right.
Well, there's a lot of ways to have a
Not.
big crash
Yes.
there too, isn't it?
For sure. Yeah.
But I love Sonoma because it's close to a whole bunch of great stuff.
Yes, it is.
I mean, and B, it challenges you and your car in a variety of different ways.
Mm-hmm.
High speed, low speed, negative G,
Yeah.
off camber, And I don't know about you, but to me, the defining characteristic of a great track is big elevation.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
It's just the best tracks are the tracks with big elevation.
Absolutely. Changes
For sure.
everything.
Period.
Changes
One of our
everything.
coaches jumped in the
Laguna,
car with
you
me.
know, whatever.
Yeah,
Say
for
what?
sure. One of our coaches jumped in with me, so I had never been on that track either. And he said, for turn 6, the carousel, all the way 180.
The downhill.
The
Yes.
downhill left turn. He
Yes.
said, look through the mountain, look through it, and imagine your apex.
Yeah.
You know where it is.
Yeah.
And you need to adjust your car.
Pretty far down there.
And imagine,
Yeah,
you know,
way
you're
down.
looking through your window, but you can't see it. But look through the mountain. Look where that is. And I started doing that, and he was right, because then I did the track out all the way to the right.
There's a
and
big,
it was
wide
great.
track out there.
Yeah.
A lot of
Yeah,
room
because you're
to-
tracking out
to
into
run
the drag
off,
strip,
yeah.
and then you're
Yeah.
out.
We
on
ran
it,
the
so-
Lucid Sapphire there a couple of weeks ago.
Nice.
It's a lot of car.
That's a lot of car for that, for
can't
everywhere.
believe-
Yeah.
You can't believe they just sell that to people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, oh, it's just money.
We had the Air GT on another road
Yeah.
trip film for later this year.
And that, let me guess,
that in and of itself.
fast enough.
Yeah, plenty fast. It wasn't like we
Plenty,
kept saying
yeah.
that. We kept saying, "Wait, the Sapphire is more than this? Are you kidding? Insane!"
Yeah, 820 horsepower.
Yeah, and
So
we were
good.
never like, you know what, this needs is more.
It's so.
And Lucid will sell you one.
We had one for Performance EV of the Year as well, and I was fortunate enough that I got to set the lap times for,
Oh, wow.
for that. And some of the numbers that thing put down were very obscene.
What track were you at?
New York safety track.
Oh, that's
why
right.
I
You said
know
that. That's
this.
right. Yeah, yeah.
Safety.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You feel safe? Good and safe.
Not
going to
driving
say-
that.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Not
terrifying.
driving that. That's. I mean, you have to have a. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I'm a good journalist. I'm an average club driver. I'm a slow pro. That's where I'm at in terms of driving. You have to really know what you're doing to drive that car.
I have no doubt.
With like so many EVs, you have absolutely no idea where to hit the brakes. And it's so
Right.
fast
Sure.
Right.
that you're
Sure.
hitting the brakes in a place where you might not otherwise be. You know what I mean? Like
It's
you know,
different than any-
if
any
the
other
Emira
car.
or
Yeah.
or even a GT3. Let's say you hit the brakes at the 4-board, right? Most tracks don't have like 7 boards, you know.
Excellent
But-
point. Yeah.
but you're in,
Yeah.
in the Sapphire. You're going so fast that you have to hit the brakes, and they're good brakes. You have to hit the brakes where an imaginary 6-board would be
Sure.
to make that corner.
Yeah.
Is that on stock tires? Did you leave
Yes.
everything on stock tires?
Yes.
What?
We use the best tires that were available at purchase.
Okay.
So, for instance, the Taycan Turbo GT
Okay, yeah.
has 2 tires.
Okay.
So they gave us the standard tire for the street driving,
Okay.
and they swapped out same wheels, but they
okay.
swapped out the optional Trofeo RS Mega Cheater, which is available.
But
a mega
it's,
cheat.
it's,
I like
it's
that.
from the factory, but it's still a cheater
yeah.
tire. I totally get
And
it.
the
Yeah.
Lucid
Yeah.
uses a PS4S.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
Seriously.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, still a good tire, but
Great tire.
you
1,200 horsepour, 5,300
yeah, I was gonna
pounds.
say you added a whole lot of weight.
Yeah.
Yeah, buddy.
Wow.
Okay.
It was intense.
That's awesome.
Our patrons have given us some things that they would like
cool.
us to
Great.
Excellent.
to talk about. So let's go to that. Patreon.com/The Smoking Tire Podcast is, of course, where you support us, first and foremost. You reduce our dependence on advertisements, which
Yes.
is better for everybody. The number of people that claim that complain about ads while consuming this show for free is very high.
But sorry, brief
Yeah.
side note. This is the thing that happened with the rise of Napster and free music.
Right.
We trained a bunch of people that you should be entertained and it should cost you nothing.
Right.
And since the dawn of entertainment, it has been supported by advertising.
Right.
Soap operas are called soap operas because they were in the afternoons and they were generally brought to you by a detergent company. It has been since the dawn. This is how it works.
When I have, there's some podcasts I listen to. Shout out to The Dollop. Shout out to Everyday Driver. Shout out to Are You Garbage, my favorite podcast. I can't recommend it highly enough. Shout out to AYG. And when I hear them reading ads, you know what I say to myself? Get that bag, son. I'm happy for you. And if I have to click plus 15, I do it. But fucking get that bag, pay
Sure.
your mortgage,
Sure.
you're putting in the work. That's
Yep.
how I feel. But anyway,
For sure.
you want to have fewer ads on this program, The way to do it is patreon.com/The Smoking Tire Podcast. And we have some phenomenal patrons in the game right now.
Cool.
So I haven't previewed the questions because
All
normally
good.
I have
no
a
worries.
Zach.
That's no worries. We're with you.
Okay. Rich B says, I'm looking to replace a base Fiesta with good suspension and tires as a commuter car. I might argue with your methodology here, but I'm not sure I would do that. But okay. He has an NA Miata, has a 20-mile great commute in the Catskills. That's a delight. No need for all-wheel drive. Must be a manual. Okay. What? Oh, sorry. He has a Fiesta with good suspension and tires.
Okay.
He's looking to get a new car.
Okay.
$20,000. He has a 20-mile commute in the Catskills. No need for all-wheel drive. Must be a manual. Doesn't need an SUV. His missus has one. What say you? I say 86.
GR86.
Phenomenal
Yep.
choice.
86, right?
I mean, if he's wanting to stay front-wheel drive, then I would say like Mini Cooper. But if we're just talking about good car to commute, decent gas mileage, fun to drive, 86. Yeah, I agree with that.
Hard to beat an 86. I would say that unless you get the cleanest R53 Mini in the world for 16 grand and put 4 in the bank for when something expensive in German breaks.
Yeah, nice. I like that.
Right?
That's good.
There you go.
And then
I like
if you're staying front wheel drive, you also probably go Veloster N. That'd be another option.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be good. You can get
Great
one of those
car.
for 20 grand.
Totally underrated.
Yep, you can get one of those, 20 grand with a manual. That'd be excellent.
that's cool.
If he's trying to, because did he say he has an NA Miata? So maybe he has the
Has coming
rear
out
wheel
of a
drive?
Miata. Yes, has an NA Miata.
So maybe he wants to stay front wheel drive for commuter. That's why I'm thinking
that.
that.
Might be pretty nice.
But 86 is such a good buy for that. Yeah.
And 20 grand gets you a good one.
Yeah.
You're not buying a piece of shit at 20 grand. You're buying a good one.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah. That's where I'm at. Oh, excuse me. Bourbon burps. That
there you
Japanese
go.
shit.
It's not
You
bad.
guys are,
isn't it?
you guys are
All
enjoying
right.
yourselves. I like
That
it. It's
is
good.
Okay.
Fuji Senroku.
My Miata. That's a username read as written. Says, I just saw the Autopian article about the Audi 4.2 V8 being able to swap into Cayman and Boxsters.
That
It
sounds
matches
terrifying.
the bolt pattern of the gearbox.
Well, that's interesting
Is
information.
this a crack pipe swap or something to bring a whole new level of character to first-gen Caymans? I saw this article too.
Okay.
It does seem interesting.
For someone else to do.
For someone else to do.
I would love to drive that car and proceed to not own it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, look, the Audi 4.2 is a great sounding V8.
It's a very cool
Assuming
engine.
you can
Yeah.
sort that timing chain,
Yes.
tensioner, blah,
Yes.
blah, blah, whatever that issue is that makes them go boom, then it's a good motor.
So
Yeah.
what are we trying to do? Is create an Audi R8 first generation out of a Cayman?
That could be
An
very
R8, a Cayman bodied R8 is what we're trying to do here.
There was a
right?
shop in like Florida that did a Ford Boss 302 V8 into a Cayman.
I remember that.
And
you
I
drove
drove
that,
it.
didn't you?
They gave it to me for a week.
Oh my gosh.
They gave it to me for a week, no notes. Literally, no like, hey,
Enjoy.
by the way,
Wow.
it's here's the car, here's the key.
Wow.
It had AC. It had racing seats in it, and the firewall was bumped up a couple of inches, so the legroom was a little tight.
As you do. Yeah.
I dailied it for a week.
Okay.
It worked.
All right.
The AC blew ice cold, and it was fast like a fucking Daytona prototype. It was like 525 horsepower, in a Cayman.
Yeah.
It was a nasty, nasty thing. So, like, this Audi thing sounds like a pretty good idea. But it's not that much power.
Agreed.
It's about
You'd have to do
340
something,
horsepower if you get the S4 motor, or 420 horsepower if you get the RS4 motor.
Yes.
What was the power on the car that you drove?
It was a Mustang motor, and it was 525.
525.
And
Makes it fast,
there's
yeah.
multiple LS motor swaps as well that work, which are in the 4s or potentially the 5s.
Yeah. It's a nice bump. It's not an amazing bump. I just wonder about the gremlins lurking in that project.
You've changed the sound.
It's a very cool engine.
Why not just buy an Audi R8, the first gen with the 6-speed manual?
The problem is first gen R8s are reasonably priced.
Yeah.
And you could buy one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
65, 70
Yeah.
grand, and you're
Yeah.
in an R8.
And
sure,
you get
yeah.
100 grand, you get an amazing one,
Yeah.
which would probably be less than you'd spend doing that engine swap.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
if you're a wrench,
Oh, different reality.
Yes,
different
Engine's the best
reality.
thing about the car.
Yes.
This seems
Yes.
interesting.
Yes.
Because
see that.
first gen Boxsters, with that shitty 2.7 or whatever,
yeah.
whatever, cheap.
Very.
And okay, fine.
Very,
You could build a monster.
Find
But
a wrecked
as
R8.
practical advice for people who want to drive and not wrench,
Yeah.
I would say that's a no.
We're all drivers, not wrenchers.
Right.
If you are the opposite, I totally do get that.
Yeah. Jason says Paul and Todd, but mostly Paul, who is wearing a Tudor today. When are you going to do a watch collab for everyday drivers?
Well, we've talked about watches for a long time. Todd's eyes glaze over whenever
Yes.
I start talking about
It's just
watches.
white noise.
So you and I could sit out here in your lobby and look at Rolex books all day long, which
that Rolex book came with those white gloves that are sitting on top.
comes with the gloves, which is
You could
great,
do one with
so-
Notice, like
Certainly could, yeah.
with us.
I'd love to, actually. Yeah,
I'll introduce you to the boys. You could do
That'd
a
be
watch
great.
collab.
I'd
I'm
really
sure,
like it.
Sure, you can make some money.
Big
you
fan
could,
of Tudors.
if you have you seen my watch? You know my watch.
I do know your watch.
Okay, so what would you, if you were to work off the architecture of my watch, what would you change?
I'd show.
Hang on.
You have a photo of it?
Yeah, give me a
Pull that
second.
up,
Sorry
yeah.
about that. Hang on.
As a matter of fact, two people that were just recently on our Beartooth adventure were wearing your watch.
Fuck out of here. Shout out to them.
Yeah.
Now we're talking.
For
All right,
sure.
let's
Yeah.
pop that up.
There we go.
Let's go. So here's
Yep.
the one we have, the release we have right now. We call it the Night Sky. It's a blue dial. It's got a little gold flake in it. It has gold hands and indices. So this is what we've got right now. Super bright lume. We've got the topographical map of the
Yeah.
Angeles Forest on the back.
There we go. Interesting.
I hate that picture
was
of
gonna say.
myself. Let's just say it wasn't a good day.
You got to show off the watch.
I didn't know they were going to show up to take pictures of me that day. I
Got
might
it.
have shaved.
Yeah, I understand.
I got a real old man that day. But I love the watch, and I'm very proud of it. So what would you, if you were to do a watch on the architecture of my watch here, what would you change? Would it be a dial color, a different bracelet, different shaped hands? What would you change?
Something I always tell people is to never buy a watch for the bracelet. That can be easily changed, and that changes the character of the watch, but that doesn't change the architecture. What is the movement on this, by the way?
This is, we use a Lejeune Perrette, Swiss movement, 68-hour automatic power reserve.
I would add a date. Personally,
You like a date?
I like
Okay.
a date. I would add that,
Okay.
and I would.
It can be done. The movement can be easily modified to have a date.
And hence the Tudor that I'm wearing. I do like a GMT. I would
can get a GMT as
add
well.
a different bezel. I would do a different bezel design
Okay.
to that, and maybe change the numerals, but they're nice. And I like the hand design, but I would add a bezel and do colors with that. Maybe
Okay.
a little bit more subdued face, but definitely work on the bezel. That's
So
that's my jam.
the Notice guys have a watch that's not based on the architecture of my watch,
Okay.
but it's called
See,
the
here
Trail
we go.
Trekker, which has an
that's interesting.
Explorer-style bezel GMT with a date at the 6 o'clock.
See, I
Do you
like a
like
good
this?
tool watch. I
I
do.
like the tool watch too.
Yeah.
Rolex Explorer 2 is my favorite watch.
Love it. Love it.
So, but I didn't want to copy it with my watch, so
For
I
sure,
tried to do
yeah.
something a little different. But maybe your watch would look a little more like their Trail Trekker architecture.
Yeah, something like that. I wouldn't quite go gray, maybe not quite so monotone, but
Oh well, colors are easy, but if
yeah.
we talk big picture, we talk architecture.
I like this.
Yeah. Not
That's
bad, right?
interesting. Not bad at all.
Not bad.
Yep.
Okay, well, I'm going
Love
to
it.
introduce
Is the white
you.
noise over now?
Yeah,
Yeah, you're done. Okay.
Exactly.
All right, here we go. We'll
can
get
do
back.
that.
We'll get back to Todd right now.
I'm just teasing.
Todd. This one's for Todd.
Uh-oh.
I'm lying. It's not, but it
It's
could
fine.
be. Ian says I have a 996 50th anniversary as my first Porsche, and I'm ready to upgrade.
Okay.
Shopping between a quote cheap modern 911 like a Carrera T, or an expensive Cayman like a GT4. I don't commute. I don't need much storage. I've never driven a GT4, but the Carrera T is pretty nice. I had to go in that. I know you're pro Cayman, whereas many others feel like it's the second choice to a 911. Would you rather have a Cayman GT4 or a Carrera T as a second? Not a second, but like you had this one.
His next one, yeah,
His next
I get that. Yeah.
upgrade.
So hang on, what gen Carrera T we talking about? We talking about
Let's assume it's a 991.2.
991? Okay,
not
yeah,
a current
correct.
generation,
Yeah,
Okay.
which is a lovely
Which is a great car. It's a very, very good
lovely
car. Yeah.
car.
It's a very good car. It's a 911. You have a total soft spot for it.
I do have a soft spot for it, but I would still choose a GT4. Personally, I still am going GT4.
I would absolutely get a Cayman GT4. I think that car is almost no notes.
It's a spectacular
That's a good way to put
platform.
it. It's superb.
Yeah.
It's a superb car.
It's rewarding every time.
Yeah.
And you know
It's a
what,
great
Todd?
car.
He always says about his Elise that even at slow speeds, backing it out of his driveway, he loves his Elise immediately.
Yeah,
he doesn't
for
have to
sure.
go find edges to start enjoying or appreciating the car. And I find the GT4 in the same category.
I agree. And Carrera T's are great. They're great.
Yeah,
But
they're
when
great.
you're going slow, they're not as special as a GT4.
I do agree with that for sure. Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
No, without question.
And also, it's like, think about your mods. Like your Carrera T, if you do mods, you're probably going to do a tune, a little more power, right? Maybe an exhaust. You're going to go for power. With a GT4, you're not going to mod it for power. You might do gears. You might do suspension. But unless you're swapping the motor like I did, you're not
done.
doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think out of the box, the GT4 is the better driving experience.
I think it's a little more special too.
I don't know about. I think if you get off the forums, nobody thinks the GT4 is a second class car in the real world.
I agree with that.
It's not
I
a
agree with
second
that.
class
yeah.
car to a 911. I don't
Absolutely.
think in the real world it is.
But you're right. Enthusiasts think of them that way, I suppose. I certainly
Forum
don't.
wieners
There's
do,
a
but
level of the
forum
internet
wieners
thinking that way.
stink.
That's a good.
Rule
Yeah.
number one is don't go on forums, especially Ferrari chat.
Drink to that.
Yeah,
Thank
that's a whole
you.
separate thing. Yeah.
L'chaim. Okay. Another GT4 car. Drains wallets fast. I bought a 718 GT4. It was meant to replace my 996 Turbo. Haven't had the heart to sell it yet. It has so much character, charm, and tactile feelback. It hasn't had the heart to sell the 996 Turbo.
Okay. Yeah.
It has so much character, charm, and tactile feelback in the way the new car doesn't.
Okay.
Though the new car is wonderful when you're going fast. Is there a more practical car like a sedan that still has the level of charm of a Metzger 911, or is that asking for too much?
Ooh.
I test drove an Audi RS6. How about this? 2013, 14 C63 Mercedes.
That's up there.
The NA
Interesting.
V8.
Yeah, that's up there.
Maybe a CLK Black Series. Right? Maybe a 2015 or 2016 C63, the first one with the 4-liter twin turbo, which idles like a fucking 427 Corvette
Quite
through
angry,
the parking
yes.
lot.
Yes.
Very angry.
Yes.
Right?
How far back can we go? I mean, if we're talking 4.2 liter V8s, why not that RS4 from 07?
The RS4.
It's interesting. That has
RS4s
charm.
are really, really
Yeah.
interesting.
You can find a good one. Don't find a beat one. They're all beat, but find a good one.
You know what the one is? The convertible. They're
You think?
super rare.
Oh,
They're very rare.
300 in the U.S.
Yeah, good luck on
rare.
that.
Now,
But
that's
that is
interesting.
very
No,
rare.
but
That's charming.
underappreciated by
Absolutely.
collectors.
No, without
Yes,
question.
that is
Because it's
yeah,
a convertible. It's like convertible, point against. Rarity,
Yeah.
point for.
Sure.
Yes.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like,
Those are charming.
yeah,
yeah.
RS4s, yeah. You know, a great E92 M3 sedan?
Yeah.
I was going to say the E90 four-door
Right.
sedan in a 6-speed manual is a car you just don't see. They're stealth and they're really fun to drive.
Those are thirsty, by the way.
They're very thirsty, but they're really good to
They're
drive.
really good. They're superb.
Or, how about this? Oddball 2015 Chevy SS mag ride
I'm
manual.
a huge Chevy SS fan.
Great car.
I talk
They are
about it
good.
all the time on
Yeah,
the
yeah.
podcast to the
Yeah.
point that people are sick of it.
Oh, they're
SS is a
great
great
car.
car and
Great
totally
cars.
overlooked.
Yeah.
Magna
Great
Ride
cars.
6-speed of that, fantastic
The
sedan.
second gen SS.
Second gen, yeah.
Yeah. That's
Once you got it with all the bells and
dope.
whistles, they're so good to
They're
drive.
all right,
And
yeah.
people just keep going nice Malibu, and that's part of the stealth of it. They're so great.
And you take that as a compliment.
Yes,
You're
I'm like, yeah,
Sure.
Watch me take your lunch money. Anyway.
There's some choices there for you. Sloppy Toppy 5000, my favorite username.
Fantastic.
Wanted
Love
to
it.
say that on the Google Street View for Westside Collector Car Storage South Bay, there's a large orange cat in front of the building. We have junkyard cats.
Okay.
We have
Really?
They're not our cats, but there are industrial cat. There's a There's a lot of cats.
Okay.
Which is great because we have no mice. But and
That's the upside.
But also, there's a lot of cats around West Side, South Bay. So we have to do a sweep for cats before we close every night.
Oh man, do they
Just in case.
Do they hide in cars? Can they get in?
They don't. So far, we have never found a cat inside.
Got it. Got it.
But we
always
see
first
them
time.
outside a lot.
Sure. Yeah.
First time.
We keep the doors closed when we're not getting a car in and out for dust and stuff.
For sure.
But it is possible that a cat could sneak in. Statistically, it's going to happen eventually.
Where did the paw prints come from on the? Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
That's how
a
we're going to
problem.
know.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Chris P. Bacon, do you remember the Infiniti FX50 Sebastian Vettel edition?
Yes.
Oh my
Looking
God.
back,
Why did that
looking back,
exist?
it was ahead of its time by asking over $100K for a super SUV. I think it was bullshit, dude.
Oh man, that was just branding, right?
Sebastian Vettel.
I'm sure Sebastian was very concerned
I'm-
about the
Yeah,
dynamics
Sebastian
of
was
that.
heavily involved in the
Oh
development.
yeah.
Did he
you
know
it.
about this? Is he aware of this car using his name?
Yeah. Flannel Bob, great question. What car would you buy as a pure base model? What would you buy the base model version of?
Nobody
is
talks
hard,
about base
actually.
model versions, and none of the press cars are base model versions. We hate
No.
this.
I'm going to go out on a limb. I would have the base model McLaren 750S. You do
That's not too far out on a
do
limb.
not
You did okay there.
You don't need many options on the 750S. It's
Things
all
that
right.
don't have too many options.
It's all right.
But you know what? The base
Okay.
level GR Corolla. Can I go there, or do I have to go Corolla? Can I, like the GR Corolla, the base one,
Except for
is
this
an
Interesting.
excellent car.
I've never
Except-
driven a base model Corolla. Have you driven one?
The GR Corolla?
The base one. I've only driven the ones with the good diffs. I've never driven one without the good diffs.
Fair point. I guess I
'Cause the
driven with
base
the diffs.
model, you don't get
yeah,
the
I
diffs.
guess that's a good point. I
Yeah.
lose the diffs. That's a downside. But you know what?
Pure
I will
base.
also say the base version of the GR86 is still an excellent car dynamically.
Yeah, the 86 you could get base. I don't even know what upgrades really get you in that car.
It's not a lot. You get the little lip spoiler and you get a couple little things, but I mean the base car is an excellent car there.
Yeah, maybe the 86 is probably a good choice. Yeah, I would say that. GTI. You don't need a lot of upgrades on the GTI
And
to enjoy it.
The base club Miata.
Yeah.
I don't fit.
Or the
But if you
Hyundai.
fit-
Does the Hyundai N stuff? Are we talking base? If we're talking base N, there's not a lot of options.
Yeah,
we
I don't
can
know
go
how much it
base
goes above that.
M2.
Yeah,
Like, I don't-
yeah. Base M2. There you go. There, very good.
Same
Well,
kind
I
of thinking,
suppose,
right?
Yeah, right. Tom Early, any chance of seeing me and Zach at a Hooked on Driving event? 100%. I've been on Hooked on Driving events before.
Awesome.
And now that I know that I can get in for free,
I see. I see what
You see what he did there, right?
All right. You
I
know
am
people.
calling it in.
You know people. That's good. I like it. It's good
That was
stuff.
Now
well
that I
done.
know that track time costs 0, I am in the game.
That was brilliant. That was a good
All
one.
right. Sorry, Todd, go to sleep for a minute. Kirk Fox wants to add a watch to his collection.
Okay.
My good ones are, owns a Lotus Canyon in orange and has a Hamilton khaki field. I like simple designs. I want a stainless bracelet, 2,000 or less, but could stretch to 4,000 or so for the right one. The problem is here, watches are so specific. I need to know what you want to do with it. Do you want
Yeah,
to go in
true.
the water?
True.
Do you want to be able to smash it into stuff? Do you want to, that's the problem. So it's like, it's hard for me to just recommend a watch for $2,000 and say this is based on what you already own, right? Lotus Canyon, which is my watch, very
Yep,
versatile. Hamilton khaki field, that's a field watch. Simple designs, stainless bracelet. Let's assume, here the problem is, do we assume he wants something the same or something different?
Got the field watch. I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to recommend a chunk of stainless. Oris.
An Oris watch.
Oris Aquis.
An Aquis? Is it
Aquis?
Aquis?
Aquis, Aquis, however you want to
I think
pronounce
it's
it.
Aquis. Aquis?
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 Either way, you know what I'm talking about.
Aquis? No, I think it's Aquis, dude.
Aquis?
I don't know. I
Fine.
might get burned.
All right, I don't know. All right.
Oris
so
makes a great watch.
You know what I'm talking about.
How about here?
They make their own
let's
movements.
boil Kirk's question down.
Okay.
What is a great watch for under $2,000? I think some of the higher end Seikos like the Willard and stuff like that are great. Oris makes a great watch for under $2,000.
Oris.
Hamilton makes a great watch. For
Tissot.
I don't love Tissots. They've never done anything for me, but they make a quality product.
Is there any Tog under $2,000?
Not anything you want.
I like Togs. That could be interesting, but
Yeah.
Problem with watch recommendations and Paul is he always doubles the budget. He does it with cars too.
yeah,
but
when
with
you say
watches,
Seiko,
he
I
Stretch
usually
to
doubles the
4
budget. Yeah.
Gs, so
Yeah.
like
Well,
you
see-
can get a tag for 4 Gs for sure.
if you can stretch to 4, yeah,
you can get a
Tog.
Carrera.
Yeah,
you can
yeah,
get
yeah.
I would get a Carrera.
Those
nice.
are just classy.
4 Gs also gets you in the Tudor game,
It does.
and a Tudor's a great piece.
I love Tudors.
Yeah, Tudor
Yep,
makes
I'm
a
all
really
about 'em.
nice watch.
Yep.
So I mean, probably I would start with Tudor.
Good look at Bell and Ross too. I was a
Bell and Ross is all right. It's a very specific aesthetic.
It is. I was a fan of those for a long
Even
time.
I know those.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I'm
you
aware
like
of
the
what that
square
means.
ones,
Yeah.
like the square joints, Bell and Ross.
I'm not sure.
The
Guy to
square
ask.
ones are the ones that look like helicopter gauges.
Yeah, they
They
do.
were
They
aircraft
do,
inspired
totally,
for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah,
but
very
they've got
aircraft
good
inspired.
movements in them.
Yeah.
The Valgy.
Timbo says, "Why don't we see any new Nissan Zs anywhere? Where are they?" Fair
We've
question.
talked about this. The problem is they're not good enough. The Nismo's very good. The base car, it's just not good enough. For what it costs, why not buy a Supra? Why not buy, frankly, an 86, which is much cheaper? Buy all the stuff around it. Buy a used Cayman or Boxster.
Yeah.
It's not good enough in base form. I like the Nismo quite a bit. I was very surprised by it, but now
Nismo
it's
is
auto only.
So nice.
Yeah,
It's good.
It's very
so
good.
It bums me that it's not a manual.
Agreed.
They should make a manual. but
Yes.
even on its own merits, so nice.
It's very, very good.
It suffers from the NSX problem, the second generation NSX, which was teased for so long. This car was almost crowdsourced. It was teased for so long that everybody knew all about it, and yet it still wasn't out, and then it still didn't come out, and then everybody moved on. And you couldn't buy it, and I think they missed that window completely.
I think it was also really hurt by when it finally did come out, huge markups from dealers on a car
Well,
that I don't
yeah.
think had that much high demand to begin with. And I think the people that were debating it were like, I'm not doing that. $70,000 car that's now 90 or 100, or I'm going to buy something else.
Finally out, I know all about it. The CEO, the VP of design, Alfonso Albeza, was sort of going, all right, crowd, do we like the front end? Do we want me to change it? No, here's the car. It is awesome. Buy it. It's available now. It's going to be out in a year. We're just sort of doing a slow roll here, a soft
You're talking about when they had that yellow one, then they
Yeah.
did the big press
Stop
launch.
all that
Yeah.
stuff.
And we don't know when it's
The
coming out, but here's
the
what we
indefinite
think
press
it
launch.
looks like. Here's
And
what we
then-
think it looks like. It's going to be great.
That's why
Yeah.
the NSX didn't do well. The second generation is sort of
Yeah.
like, it's been out for about 10 years and we still
Right.
can't buy it, and I'm over it. And then technology moved on from the car, and it was almost irrelevant by the
right.
time it came actually on the market.
Right. The Nismo, particularly with a manual gearbox, if they came in and undercut the Dark Horse and undercut
Ooh.
the M2,
Yeah.
would be a very appealing product.
I
to me.
totally agree with you.
The
Totally agree with you.
chassis tuning of the Nismo is so
Excellent.
It's good.
So good.
The minute we
yeah.
drove it, I was like, this is what I wanted the base non-Nismo
Yeah,
to
it's
drive. I was like,
really
that's excellent.
Yeah,
it's
it's
really
really
good.
You don't have to do much to undercut a Dark Horse.
Siamese sports cat enthusiast.
Like it.
Do you think manual transmissions and other analog features such as physical gauges will eventually trickle back down from seven-figure hypercars to regular enthusiast cars? Could what happened to vinyl records happen in the automotive space, or are the cost barriers too high? This is so interesting because what we're seeing now is cars at the low to mid end are being stuffed with screens and tech. And cars at the very high end, they're stripping tech out and they're doing toggles
Yep.
and buttons.
Yep.
And it's because they want craftsmanship, they want permanence, and
Yeah.
the audience for those cars is willing to pay for permanence. Bugatti called it. Shout out to Bugatti, who
Yeah.
called it with the Veyron, not having a big central screen.
Yep, yep.
Because they wanted the car to have a long-term collectible permanence. And they saw that coming, which I totally respect. Do you guys think that will trickle down? like Reagan economics. No.
Oh no, we're off on a
Like
whole
Reagan
different-
economics,
Yes.
they lied about happening.
Here's the thing: we have a surprising number, and Paul's talked about this before. We have a surprising number of manual transmission cars currently available in cars but most people can't afford.
Most people can afford.
Can afford.
Yes.
With the MX-5 and the GR86 and the GR Corolla, and if you want to step up a little bit, the Supra has a manual now. The Z4. We're talking about a lot of
Drive
cars.
Z4 yet?
We just did actually.
Z4 manual is nice.
It's very
It is
good.
nice.
So my
Real
point
nice.
is,
It is
the,
good.
Yeah,
the
check out my
manuals
video
are
of
here.
Z4 manual. It's
Yeah.
nice.
The Handschlaffer.
Hand shelter.
There you go.
Shelter.
There it is. Thank you.
Hans Stuck. Hans
Hanstuck?
Stuck.
Did we already go there?
Hans.
We got it. Our
Hans-
German is superb in this room.
Hans.
But my point is, you can get a surprising number of manual transmission cars that are good to drive at affordable prices, but they are getting more and more into screens. So I think the thing that's going to be hard to find is really nice switchgear trickling back down.
Right.
Because the screen can just do so much. And now that those have taken over, I think that cat is out of the bag. It will never come back where it becomes a very analog experience again in your buttons and switches in the cabin unless you go super high end. But manuals are here now at affordable prices. And what I find fascinating is you have affordable prices up until, I'll just go there, the Emira, the Cayman, and the 911. That's as high as manual transmissions get, and then they stop. And then you use
Right.
all these more expensive cars, and maybe we'll get back to a manual at the top end. I'm curious to see if
Oh,
the
no,
very
at the
top
very
end
high end, we have
trickles back
manuals
down
now.
Well,
with the
we
T50,
do.
right?
We have the Gordon Murray T50.
Yes.
We have Koenigsegg reintroducing the manual. We have Hennessy reintroducing with a Venom
Yep.
F5.
Yep.
We have
Sasha Salipanov.
Sasha Salipanov
Yep.
with his new.
Yep.
I love Sasha, but whatever,
Nilu?
whatever the name
Yeah.
of that thing
got
is,
an odd
weird.
name, yeah.
Di Tommaso is coming out with that. Plus, you have Singer and you have Gunther and you have and you have Tuttle with these sort of rest. To call them resto mods is an insult to what they're doing, but I don't have a better word right now. Resto mods. So at the very high end, if you're spending $1 million to $5 million,
You can find one
you
again.
can get a manual.
So where's I'm curious to see if that super high end trickles back through.
Yeah, you
Tell me
can't
more
get a
about
strata
manual
there.
between 80
Conversation.
and 500 grand.
Yeah,
Back
isn't
to
that
the
weird?
McLaren
Isn't that
CEO.
weird? Yeah.
Why did he run away? The McLaren CEO.
Because I was annoying.
Because he was pushing on the manual
Because
so
he
much.
hated.
Come on.
Because he hated me.
We keep circling back to
mean,
those
tell me
cars
more
need a
about
manual.
this.
The McLarens, the
It
Ferraris,
didn't
that
go
mid-grade.
anywhere? I'm so shocked.
He ran away because he thought I was an asshole. That's why. That's why he ran away.
Oh, man.
Tim A says, if you lived in Denver or anywhere high altitude, would forced induction be mandatory in your sports car? You guys live in high altitude.
No.
What say
Not
you?
necessarily. I
Loved
have
our
a,
GR86, and I have a Lotus Elise that is naturally aspirated.
I've got a naturally aspirated Cayman. It's just fine. I mean, it makes enough power. You say, what, 3% per 1,000 feet of altitude?
Something like that, yeah. I mean, we're at 6,000 feet in Park City, 6,000 to 7,000 feet. I mean, is there a loss? Yes. Does it keep me from driving that car, loving it? No.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Paolo says something I hear frequently about the consumer preference for crossovers is the ease of entry for folks with mobility issues.
Okay.
As I'm getting older, this is becoming a concern, but I also have knee issues that make the seating in crossovers largely upright. Wait. Sorry.
It's okay.
I also have, this is what I get for not pre-reading this, but I also have knee issues that make the seating in crossovers largely upright a no-go. Okay,
Got it.
what crossovers or high-clearance vehicles have the most sedan or coupe-like seating arrangement where you can lower the seat very low?
Sure.
That's a very specific question and
Yes, it is.
kind of tough to answer.
Stelvio.
The Alfa Stelvio?
It's pretty low. Low-ish.
It's low. But you know what? Actually,
Volvo.
Volvos.
Volvo has
XC60.
great seats and a
Yeah.
ton of range.
XC60
I know
has
you're a
a
fan of
lot
that.
of
We're a
range.
big fan of that as well. Those seats do an
Yeah.
amazing amount of range. And actually, so does the Cayenne. And I know this
Sure.
because I drop the seat to the floor and my wife puts it on the ceiling.
Yeah.
So I can drop that seat low enough that it starts to feel like it's got a sports car seating position in a Cayenne.
So
Yeah.
you're tall. So
Yeah.
how are you tall? You long
Torso.
you're long torso,
Yeah,
short
yeah.
legs, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you lower your seat as low as it goes in every car.
As much as I can, yes.
Yeah. So Macan Cayenne is good for you.
Yes. And it's funny because the range, to your point about the Volvo, the range is good enough that my wife can get in it and go to the ceiling. She's 5'6", and she wants to sit as high as possible, so she goes to the ceiling. So our memory positions actually hurt us because you get in the opposite person's position,
We
of course,
have
at all
my
times.
wife and I have opposite.
Yeah.
We're opposite.
Yeah,
my
yeah.
wife is 5'2".
Yeah.
You know, and I have long torso, medium short legs, T-Rex arms. So like my seating position is like fucked up, like it's crazy. And so if Hannah and I share a car, we have to have memory seats. It's just like it's
For
not
sure.
funny.
Absolutely. Yes.
And so that's why our 1991 Bentley Turbo R with 4-position memory seat function is so clutch.
Okay, so I have a question. Do you have any memory seat cars that are single touch memory buttons? Where you touch it once and it does it the whole thing?
Oh, what have you done? Multi-view, select channels. Oh, I fucked up. Sorry. I'm trying to produce. I've not produced.
You're busy. You're busy over there. There's a lot going on.
I'm trying to produce and did not produce. Our Ford Mach-E.
Oh, really?
Which we returned the lease. We don't have any more.
Yeah.
We may ultimately get another one, maybe, but it was a one-touch.
Yeah.
It was a one-touch.
I think they all should be
Bentley
one-touch.
was not a one-touch.
I think they should all be one-touch. I don't know why I have to hold the button the whole way through.
I'll tell you what. I
Anyway.
know why. You guys understand why they wouldn't do a one-touch. Because you could crush somebody.
Exactly. The lawyers were involved.
The lawyers
were definitely
determined
involved. Absolutely.
that
Yes,
this was a
for sure.
bad idea.
We find a lot of features in cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The lawyers were
Yeah.
like, nah.
That's not
Nah,
happening. We got to stop that. Yep.
But Ford, shout out to Jim Farley. He went, fuck your lawyers. One touch, baby.
Interesting, because our Cayenne is not.
Takes a good CEO.
Yeah.
Our Cayenne is
cousin
not.
of Chris
but my
Farley.
Emira is.
Yes. I
my
want you
Emira
running
has
a
one
car
touch.
company.
The Cayenne is one touch?
Cayenne is not. The Emira is.
The Emira is.
The Emira, you can touch it, it'll get there. It's
You
going to
know
take a
why?
minute, but pretty cool.
Because the laws in the UK are very lax
Absolutely.
regarding Chinese-owned companies.
There you go. Very funny.
Good luck
Yes.
finding the source of
gosh.
that money.
Yeah,
You sue
excellent.
Lotus, and they're like,
You're
you
in a
know
circle.
what?
We'll just pass you right on.
Fucking come meet us in Jiangdong.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
like-
Totally get it. Yep, for sure. Good luck.
Best of luck to you suing Lotus.
Come back to Wuhan.
Drew Fink says, shout out to Paul and Todd for encouraging us to drive our sports cars in winter.
Good. Please do.
Oh, no, well, that was just a nice comment. Can
That's
confirm
great.
Matt's regular comment that the best car is one you can drive. Okay, cool. Kevin King says, was looking at the interior of the new Aston DB12. Makes me very sad when I see the glued-on iPad for the center cluster. Will we see a return of actual gauges mixed with... Hang on a minute. Let me pull up this Aston Martin DB12. Sorry. Interior. Let's pull that up.
Okay.
And I will get us some images that we can look at together in... Okay, hang on. Now, the glued-on iPad.
He's talking about the one in the center
Let's just call this the
console.
glued-on iPad. I don't believe that the Aston DB12 is an example of glued-on iPad.
I agree with that.
No,
That's more integrated
Dashboard.
than a lot of the ones we've seen. Where normally people say that it's the one that looks like somebody just shoved it into the
Yeah.
dash from the top.
Yeah.
Sticks up like your laptop screen does.
Now, we kind of have to sympathize with the OEMs.
Absolutely.
Because, A, they're going, look, if this screen has a failure, we need to make it easy to replace.
For sure. Yeah.
And also, glued on iPad as an aesthetic allows you to lower the dashboard entirely with the screen popping up over, as opposed to think about the E90 M3 with that
double hump.
giant
Yep.
double hump.
Yep.
Now your whole dashboard is up here.
Yes.
I don't think the DB12 has a glued on iPad interior
It's
at
what-
all.
what
When I hear that
integrated.
description, I don't think of this. Now,
No,
I
I don't
understand I get it's floating above the dash a little bit, or the center console, I guess I should say, but I've seen so much more egregious issues than that.
You know, it's not about the design necessarily, but it is about the materials. when they say masterpiece, Simran, the author of the article, when you're saying the interior is a masterpiece, you are talking about the construction and the materials clearly. Because if you put that in a Mazda product, all of us would say, great interior, great,
Right.
looks fine,
Right.
looks great. But
I think the
from a
DB12 interior
design-
is excellent.
from a design standpoint, you look at the overall aesthetic, it's not visually that interesting, but the materials make it interesting. And no, it's got the vents above it, so it passes the Texas vent
Telling you,
rule.
once you
Is
put
that
the
what we
screen
call
up
it?
top, you got to put the vents down by your knees. That's always a
Yeah,
no-go for me. I'm
right.
worried about the vents being high.
Right, yeah.
I miss the vent under the steering wheel in the old gym cars, you know.
The ball vent.
Yes,
Yeah, the
that's what it
ball
is.
vent.
That's
The ball
exactly
vent
what
is
it was
on-
for.
Cooled
they-
seats
if they-
eliminate the need for the ball vent.
That's true.
You know?
That's
Still,
very true.
I think that it has its place.
But I do think, and it's so funny that these questions are coming up today because literally today I participated in a focus group with people whose jobs it is to design UIs, where I said, and the other people in the focus group kind of agreed, were that we're past peak screen. You know, the screens have gone too far.
I hope so.
Right. And the example I kept using is my Boxster, but it could be a variety of other cars that are similar where I've got a screen that's maybe 9 inches, the center screen,
Yeah, yeah.
is your GPS and your CarPlay, and then I have analog gauges in front of me and physical buttons for basically everything. And that seems to be, to me, all the tech I ever need for driving. And everything else is sort of optimized to be easy to use while driving. And so I think screens, just like electric motors,
Okay.
electric motors benefit Kia more than they benefit Rolls-Royce, right?
Sure.
Because
Yeah.
a manufacturer that has built very refined gasoline engines and very beautiful integrated physical buttons, those plungers that Rolls and Bentley,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, they don't gain anything by shifting to screens and e-motors, whereas Kia, a Kia, to go from a gas Kia to an electric Kia, and a Kia with no screens to a Kia with a nice big screen, that's a massive jump in refinement and features, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think screens really help, and EV powertrains really help the low end more than they help the high end. And so I do think we may see at the high end a backtrack to
I think it's already
analog
happening. Yeah, for
gauges
sure.
and analog buttons.
I think it's going to depend on the car, though.
Yeah.
I mean, Kia's not doing the organ stops in all of their switchgear. That's never going to happen. But I think it's going to depend on the car because for sports cars, I think enthusiasts don't want all that stuff and are willing to pay less if it's not even offered and
Right.
put it in the high end, put it in the people movers, put it in the pickup trucks. Fine, we're all fine with that. But if it's not in our enthusiast cars and it's simple controls that operate the car for the task of driving, the joy of driving, I think we're all going to be just fine with that.
I agree. And I think there will be a premium for analog cars.
Agreed.
yeah.
Oh, without
Yep.
question. Yes.
And I would pay
For
it.
sure.
I'd
Yeah.
pay it.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to lie. I would pay a premium for analog cars.
I still like this Porsche noise discussion, product
Oh,
planning
no,
for
that
Porsche,
would be
Download
exceptional.
all
which
the Porsche
means
noises.
everybody is going to
Yeah.
do that. What does the McLaren sound? What does the Ferrari sound? What is
Well,
On and on.
listen, Ferrari and Porsche have an enormous advantage in that regard.
Absolutely, they do.
I'm not, and what's funny is though, I'm not excited for an electric Ferrari.
No,
I'm not.
No.
But the Taycan is so good. Objectively,
It's very
so,
good.
It's
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah.
The Taycan GT is so
You drove the
good.
GT with
Yeah, I've
Weissach,
driven-
yes?
Yeah, I've driven Taycan.
Yeah, we've not driven that yet. It's
exceptional.
Yeah, that's what we've
Yeah,
heard.
objectively exceptional. Not necessarily subjectively exceptional.
Okay.
It doesn't stir my soul.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it is so capable and so fast that if they put some fake titties on there,
I love this reference.
You know
It's
what I
so
mean?
good.
Then-
I'm with you.
Some
I'm with you. I
fake
see where
soul.
you're
Okay
going.
with this.
I see it.
like that's
Yeah.
why when Lars Kern recently was quoted, and he's a test driver, he's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
Porsche's official,
Right.
But when Lars Kern was like, why would you want to put the synthetic gears? It makes the car slower. It's like, you don't know why people buy Porsches, racing driver. And I like Lars. I've met Lars. I like Lars.
Cool.
But he's a racing driver.
For sure.
It's just how can I go faster? That's
How
all
do I
that
go
matters.
faster?
All
Exactly.
that matters. Yeah.
This is why we had Miro, who was the test driver for Bugatti Rimac on the show, and he was talking about the difference from test development driver to racing driver. You do not want your car developed by only racing drivers. You don't.
Sure.
It seems counterintuitive to us enthusiasts.
You
everywhere.
want to involve a racing driver,
For sure.
Absolutely.
but you
Yes.
don't want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I love Lars. He's a lovely man. I completely disagree with him. That he does not understand why people buy Porsches.
Yeah.
Put some fake teddies on it. That's
There's the
why
title
I
of this
will.
episode,
everyone
by
will
the way.
buy
It's gonna
them.
be perfect. Yeah.
Yes.
For real, dude. What do I give a fuck about an electric Cayman without fake titties?
Fascinated to see how
Agreed.
that's going to be. I really am. Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're talking about a car that is not necessarily what people want.
Yeah.
The funny thing about an electric Cayman, we can probably agree, nobody's actually asking for that product.
Not at all.
Right?
No.
No one.
Can you
no
think
one.
of a single customer that is actually asking for an electric Cayman?
0 people want that.
Yes.
Right? So what are we going to do to make that product desirable?
Hyundai's.
Fake titties.
Yep.
Triple D's, baby.
Downloadable Porsche noises. That's where we're
Right?
headed. Yeah.
Like-
I see it.
Like
I see
let's
it. Yeah.
let's make it something that confuses me, convinces me
Yeah.
that like a Porsche 550 Spider is like $3 million.
Yeah.
You're telling me that I can synthesize that driving experience for $100 a month?
Yep.
Maybe we have
Yep.
graduated tiers. So it's like B cup, C cup.
Right. Graduated titties.
Anyway.
But like, you know what I mean? Like,
No, I totally see where you
they're,
are.
They're
Absolutely.
trying to sell a product right now that a customer doesn't exist for.
Nobody's asked for it at all. I totally agree. And they're already stopping selling Caymans and Boxsters overseas. And
Well, that's
we're,
the weird.
there's
the
other
thing.
reasons.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
there's other
yeah,
reasons
yeah.
there as well. But so when this pops up, how? I think it's just going to, for a little while. I think it's going to, that market's going to sit still, and all the old ones are going to go up in value, and Porsche's going to have to figure out what do we do now. I would not want to be Porsche introducing a electric Cayman and Boxster because, to your point, I don't think there's a market going, oh, good, it's almost here.
For
mean, look,
$25 a
let's-
month, you get 5
You guys
noises.
have driven, other than the GT, you've driven Taycans, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Do you like how they drive?
Yes. The
Objectively, you
Taycan
like
and
how
the
they drive,
e-tron
right?
are both excellent. They're
They
both
drive
very
great,
good.
right?
Yeah. Yes, for sure.
But you can agree that nobody has asked for an electric sports car from Porsche.
No.
So, like,
True.
what do you do?
Yeah.
How do you
Yeah.
convince someone that this is an awesome thing that they need,
Well, and
passionately need?
Yeah.
it's interesting that the Ioniq 5 has, you said it earlier, kind of shown the way of this can work. Will Porsche go down that route? I'd be fascinated to see what. And then talk about Porsche purist issues. You know, because you take a Porsche and you change it. How dare you change it? Now we have Porsche. You can change into any Porsche in the lineup. That's going to scramble some brains right
$50
there.
a month,
It's
you
gonna
get
scramble some brains.
up to 10 noises.
I mean, listen,
For $75
I've
a
been
month.
pitching this. Alex Roy, one of my great friends, who 5 years ago wrote a piece for The Drive. There was a hypothetical futurist review of what was, I think, was the 2032 911E.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah. Sure.
The 911E was an electric 911 that could synthesize all other Porsches throughout history.
Okay.
So
Okay.
this is his idea.
Okay.
And in no universe will I claim to come up with this because
Okay.
this is his idea.
Okay.
And he is smarter than me.
Okay.
I love Alex. He's one of the smartest people I've ever met. But I'm concerned that Porsche is not taking his idea and my mod on his idea
Sure.
seriously. And they should be, because they're so obsessed with efficiency.
Uh-huh.
That
Too
it's-
obsessed.
That they don't understand that people don't buy their sports cars for efficiency; they buy them for whimsy.
Yes.
They buy them
And
for
interaction.
Yes.
And you could crank the fucking whimsy to 1,000 if you could synthesize a 917K.
Yes.
If you could synthesize a
Absolutely.
Kramer 935.
Take my money.
If you know what I mean?
Take
Yeah.
all my money.
Today,
Yes.
I'm commuting in a 917. Today, I'm commuting in a GT3 Touring. Tomorrow, I'm commuting in a 997 Turbo. Then I'm commuting in a GT2 RS. It would be, it's not technically challenging. It's easy. It's technically easy.
100%,
You just have to, as a German corporation, express whimsy, which is a fucking hurdle that no one has ever covered.
I'll be curious to see where this goes.
amazing.
I love this. I'd be
Right?
very curious to see where it goes.
Right?
Ferrari could get in on this.
Yes.
Oh, Ferrari could clean house.
Yeah.
They could.
Yeah.
The problem with Ferrari doing it, though, is then they can't get you in the starter Ferrari that steps you up in other
Right.
Ferraris because your starter Ferrari now synthesizes all the other Ferraris, so it's
Sure,
irrelevant.
but
so that doesn't
it
work.
is about the driving experience.
But
Still, there
theoretically,
is
yeah.
some driving experience to be
Yeah.
had at some point. It's not just sound, but I maintain sound is the reason
Yeah.
we all want sports cars. Sound, that's the reason Hyundai recognized and went, you know what we should do is add sound to this thing.
Well, Hyundai's greatest asset and their biggest anchor is that they don't have history.
Sure.
Their greatest
Yes.
asset
Yes.
is that they
can do
fucking
whatever.
play and do whatever.
Yep.
But then when they do it, they're bound by the sound of the Elantra N.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
They're not. You know? Like,
Doesn't sound quite as good as we'd like.
This does sound kind of like a gas car, but like a meh gas car.
Yeah,
You know,
you're right.
It's
You're
not,
right.
It's not a
True.
14,000 RPM,
Hey.
F1 motor.
We'll go
Yeah.
back 20 years to no, we won't. That
They'll
won't
still
do it. Elantra,
anybody
yeah.
doing
Yeah.
this will still sell cars.
Totally.
It's coming. We know it is.
Last question, and then I'm out of here.
Okay.
Because, and this is a question for me, but I'm going to throw it to you.
Okay.
Smoking Tire, would you ever consider leading a trip across Europe the way they do with the everyday driver, something more driver oriented, and I'm air quoting, than the luxury leaning road and track events? Now, I'm going to talk about your events for a minute.
Okay.
With the road and track events, I must say, I have only so much control over them. Okay? My job is I make the drive routes.
Sure. Yeah,
That's my job.
Fair.
So I'd make them as good as I can. I don't pick the hotels. I don't pick the fucking racetrack. I work with the events team as best I can, and then I make the best route I can. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
You guys, you now have a track day company, and you've been doing these European road trips and other road trips that are
Domestic
group road
ones too,
trips.
yeah.
Now, I want to. What the question is the balance between affordability, your time that you're putting into the events,
Yeah.
the resources that you're using for the events, the tracks, the hotels, whatever. When you're putting together for an event, what is your mathematical problem or your mathematical formula between affordability and luxury and fun? How do you guys put that together? And because I haven't looked into it, I haven't done one of your road trips. What is your balance there for people who are going to come do these road trips? You know, like for instance, the Coastal Range Rally I did with Driving While Awesome.
Sure, sure.
They had a very low entry fee, but you bought your own hotels, and there was no
Sure.
racetrack.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
what
yeah.
are you? So with one of your events, is it all inclusive? Is it itemized? How does it work? And what is your philosophy of events?
Typically, when we've done our road tours, the ones that we do domestically are all inclusive.
All-inclusive.
When we do pilgrimage overseas, it's all inclusive. Well, it's obviously very, very track focused. When we do our trips here, they are all inclusive, but you got to bring your own car, provide your own gas. That's the part you have to bring to the party. And then, but once you arrive from there to the end of the trip, everything's handled, all the meals, all the hotels, etc. What's happened with our trips, and it's been very interesting to watch, we typically just build the trip out and we just add a base markup to all of the above, and that's how we price it. But the problem is, depending on where you go, that means the trip varies wildly. Now, for the road and track thing, once you add a track day, the price spikes.
100%.
So-
and I've talked to them a bunch of times about saying, hey, we could do other events that don't have a track day, and we could go way up with the hotels and the food for the same money. We could have extraordinary hotels
Sure.
and food
Yes. Sure.
for the same money if we don't have a track. And I don't think I'm talking out of turn here because it's factual, but every single time they've said we're road and track. We have a
Road
track.
and track. Sure.
This is the track.
Sure.
Right.
This is the track.
Right.
So, yeah.
So we've had some events that have had a track element. Those are obviously significantly more expensive. We'd have some events, though, that are just road tours. But the thing that varies is, like, if we have one through central Utah, which we've done a few times, the towns are small, the hotels are cheap.
Right.
But we had one through Telluride. That's an expensive place.
Sure.
And we had certain level of pushback. People were like, why is this trip so expensive? We're like, folks, look up hotels in Telluride. There isn't a cheap way to do this.
But point being is that your trip, it's one payment, and once they arrive,
Yes.
other than their gas, they're not
They're
taking
covered.
out their wallet.
True. That's the
Okay, so
intention.
it's the
Yes.
hotels, and then what to you is the sort of balance of price point between this is nice and we start to lose people. Is it 8,000-10,000 for a couple or for a car? Or
I mean, well,
is it
but
15? Where are we at?
That's the thing. It depended on the trip. If you are chasing our Europe trips, you're spending 10 to 15.
That's
If you're-
crazy cheap for
It is.
Europe.
It is. If you're chasing
Yeah.
our domestic trips, we have had a couple of domestic trips where it was $1,500. We've had a couple that were $3,000 or $4,000, and that's where the pushback happens. Is that jump?
Dude, straight up, your margins are not great.
They're not huge.
Your margins
They're not
are
huge.
not great.
Yeah.
No.
There's no way they could be great at that price point. I mean, and not that you're doing
No.
charity work over
No.
here,
No.
but like your margins aren't great.
They're not huge. That's the thing
Yeah.
people also have to realize is we're not coming away with, oh, thank God we did another trip. We made all this money. We make money off of it, but that's not the primary reason to do them. The primary reason to do them is because we are trying to enact what we have established with our culture of our show and get you out and get you driving.
Right.
And we're spoiled to get great cars on great roads. We live in Park City. We are spoiled in a lot of that regard. So that is always the discussion every time we launch a trip. Is this too expensive? Are people going to come? There's always some level of backlash, and there's always people that come. So it's a fight. And then what will definitely be changing with Hooked on Driving is as we add more trips that have a track element, obviously the price goes up because just a track day is expensive.
Of course.
Anytime. It always
course.
is. And there is, to the thing you're saying here, and we're all kind of walking toward, this is the thing that people don't realize is these car adventures, people seem to love them, and sometimes it's the pinnacle of their year. But the minute you add a track element and we get a bunch of cars together, it's pricey. There's no way around it.
Well, I sympathize, because it's hard. It's hard for me here. I want everybody, 75% of the people who call us here at Westside, oh, it's too expensive.
Sure.
And so my instinct is, oh my God, lower the price, and it's the same thing with these type of trips. But the fact is the math is the math.
Absolutely. That's
Right?
what we've had to settle
the math
on.
Yeah.
is the math. And in fact, having now done it with Road and Track, I don't want to say that you guys should raise your prices. I'm certainly not going to tell you how to do your business, but I think your margins are low. Because I know
You're
what
right.
it costs to do this kind of stuff. And I know you're doing it for passion, and you're doing it almost as a gift to the fans.
Sometimes there's an element of that.
It's not charity, but you're right. We want
Your
people
margins
to
are
be
really low.
they're low, and we want people to be included, but we don't. We've eased our way there. We started low, and we're easing into things, and each trip adding an element. Not just going full boat, all the luxury, all the hotels, all the food. It's not all at once. It's adding an element to see how that goes over.
Right,
Did that
right.
resonate? And are the conversations between attendees still good? Are people still having
What
fun?
do you find, what do you find are people the most willing to pay for? And what do you find people are the least willing to pay for?
The most we haven't discovered yet because we could keep going.
Yeah. I mean, I
We could
think
keep ramping that up.
in general, I think it depends on who's going to come, Matt. Because if somebody would like to bring their significant other, then the hotels and the scenery become paramount. If the people that are coming are just going to come by themselves and drive, then it can be a nasty hotel, but the driving better be epic.
Right. Yeah.
So it
yeah.
depends on how
Yeah.
we structure the trip and where we lean it. That varies.
That's so interesting. For road and track, everybody is bringing a significant other.
Exactly, which totally
Now-
changes the spectrum,
Right.
spectrum of the trip.
Right.
Changes the price.
Absolutely.
Right. And so the hotels must be exceptional.
Right.
Whereas if I was doing one myself,
Yes.
it would be substantially lower.
Yes. I mean,
You know?
I can even kind of measure it in my own family because if I bring my son, we'll take a couple of water bottles and a granola
Right.
bar and we're good. And okay, we're not sleeping in a tent and that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. But if I'm going to bring my wife, the trip has got to be totally different.
Totally.
So I can
Totally.
almost see it just by kind of running it through those two filters.
You know, at road and track, we've found that, and this is going to sound sexist, and I don't mean it to. The quote wife is so often the decision maker in these types of things that it's very important to make the wife happy.
Well, if
The
you're talking
food
about
and the hotels, really, that's for us. And I'm speaking on behalf of a giant corporation here, but I'm in charge of making these things.
We never want to.
It's actually more important to make the wife happy than it is to make the husband happy, because the husband,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like you can get him once if it's
Yeah.
good for the husband.
Sure,
If it's
sure.
good for the wife, you can get him 3 or 4 times.
Well, because the other thing that's happening there is this may be the only time the two of them are going to do something this year.
Right.
And we have this amount of time off and we have this amount of money to spend on something. And so it can't just be a one-sided reality.
Totally.
So that's where it changes it.
Totally.
The metric is we never want to have to ask, how was the trip? How was the food? How was your hotel? Because it's always going to be a forced answer.
For sure.
If it's good enough and we've read the room enough and we've read the clientele and we've understood that, okay, it needs to be a balance and maybe we'll try that and we'll see if we can charge more for that. And the compliments either manifest themselves automatically. We don't have to do anything. Hey, that was a great meal. Then I know that was genuine. I know that was honest.
Right.
If they don't come, well then, okay, that's a good indication. Like,
Right.
We need to maybe back some things off or make a change. I don't want to have to send out a survey. How was everything? Because
Here's what we find.
who cares?
This happens over and over. The most difficult people who complain about everything, the toughest customer, if you make them happy, they become your biggest advocate
Yes.
after that.
Yes.
We've had people that were brutal to deal with, very demanding, borderline unreasonable. Going in the fucking in the group chat later, like, can you believe this person did this? And then at the very end of you're convinced you haven't made them happy. And then at the very end, when it's time to say goodbye, this was the best week of my life. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You guys had
experienced
that?
the same.
Have you guys had that?
Absolutely.
Uh-huh.
People, you can't get a read on them.
Yeah.
Are you having fun? I
Yeah.
hope you're having fun because
Yeah.
I'm not getting any of that from you.
Yeah,
And then at the end,
this
comes
was the
through.
best thing I've ever done in my life, and they sign up for 3 more.
Yes.
And you're going, wait a minute,
Yes.
nothing about this week told me we were going to end there.
Right?
Not at all.
I
We've
did not
definitely had that.
predict
Yes.
that
Yes, for sure.
happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very
crazy.
cool. It's wonderful when it
crazy.
happens, but it's a total mind restart. Like, wait, what? That was the experience?
Yeah.
I'm glad, but you're kidding. Yeah,
100%.
definitely happened.
100%. Okay. Now it's time to end the show.
Okay.
'Cause it's been great. It's been a fantastic 2 hours. I love you guys so much.
Thanks
I
for
love
having
you
us.
guys
Thanks for
so
having
much.
us.
I
Thanks for having
love
us.
talking to old school YouTubers because I feel like we're all on the same wavelength.
We are,
Yeah.
for
But
sure.
you guys, I mean, we speak the same language, and the fact that you bought a business as a fallback, that's a business I already respected before
Good.
you bought
Thank
it.
you.
I can't. I'm going to take so much advantage of you guys. You don't even know. I'm going to get all the fucking track time.
My God.
We're going to put in the YouTuber session right after the advanced. It's. Oh no! Look, I am.
I'm now terrified. Okay. All right. Bracing myself.
It's going to be great. Okay. Where can people find out about your drives? Is it just everydaydriver.com?
It's everydaydriver.com is our group drives, but that is going to be working its way to under hookedondriving.com, which is the main website for all.
HookedonEverydayDriving.com.
No.
You should buy that domain.
We probably should.
It's
$7. We're heading toward keeping Everyday Driver to be much more content focused, and Hooked on Driving will be both the track days and the adventures. We're going to start connecting the dots better there in the year to come. This has been drinking from a fire hose so far this year, but it's been really cool.
We will be at the Ridge Motorsports Park.
Ooh, the Ridge is great.
We really
what a
like
great
the Ridge.
track. Have you been there before?
Yes, quite a few times.
Oh,
we
it's
love
a
it.
good time.
I'm glad you like it.
Yeah,
we really
the
like it there.
F-Type launch was there.
Well, he's
No
back
kidding.
to elevation
The
change.
F-Type
That's what
launch
makes
was
the
there.
track
Elevation
so
change.
great.
They've got their own corkscrew.
They have a reverse corkscrew.
Yes.
Like
Yep.
Laguna. Yeah.
We
The
will
Ridge
be
is
there.
great.
Actually, we're leaving tomorrow as of this recording. We're leaving tomorrow to be up there for a 2-day with Hooked on Driving. So we'll be there.
This
Cars and
won't be up
coffee on
until next
Saturday.
week. It'll be over by the time you
It'll
get
be
there.
Fair
over.
enough. Fair
but
enough.
next week,
But
actually,
then-
we're doing Utah Motorsports Campus, our home
Correct.
track. Yeah.
We're going
Is
to
that former
UMC.
Miller?
Yes.
Former
That's
Miller.
not
Same
Miller.
place.
Yeah,
Same
yeah,
place.
yeah,
And
Yeah,
we
yeah.
haven't been there. The Hooked on Driving name has not been there
Okay.
in 11 years, at least
Yeah.
11 years. So we're bringing it back. You know what? We're not going to do consistent track days like, every weekend, but we're going to start bringing the HOD name back to some big tracks.
Awesome.
And we're already thinking about 2025 for some big events at some major
so
tracks.
happy for you guys.
Thank you, man.
I really think this is such a great idea for you guys.
Cool.
Thank you.
And I always had a lot of respect for your ability to find new angles with the Amazon, with the trips, with all of that. I mean, as an old school YouTuber, I respect both your guys' hustle, your guys' ability to find new angles, new gigs. And as you guys have always had, in a way that I haven't, such a positive attitude. I mean,
Some days it's harder than others, Matt.
If not,
I'm telling you, man.
if not,
For
in
sure.
reality, you present it because, and I know this isn't an easy gig.
It can be hard. Yeah.
I'm there. I'm with you.
I know you are. Yeah, for sure.
But you guys always seem to appreciate your core audience in a much more positive way than a lot of other people, including myself sometimes. And I really respect that so much.
Thank you, man.
And it's such a pleasure to spend time with you every time I get to, which isn't enough. I'm going to abuse the privilege.
It's coming
Very
down.
funny. All right, good to know.
Crap.
Now
Good to
that,
know.
that
All right.
I know,
No,
I'm going to abuse the privilege heavily. And so I really hope that our audience goes to hookedondriving.com and takes advantage of your track days and takes advantage of your road trips.
Thank you.
I think it would be fun. I don't have an agreement with Road and Track that prevents me from going on other road trips. Like maybe we could do a collab trip.
That'd be cool.
A smoke and
That'd be
tire
really
collab
cool.
trip.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
I think would be a great time
Yeah,
with the
yes.
track. And I'm proud of our Road and Track trips. I think they're a lot of fun, and I lead them. And please come drive with me at experiences.roadandtrack.com. But also, let's do something
That'd be very cool.
together.
Yes.
I think would be a lot of fun.
That
love
would
that.
be amazing.
With a track day and maybe some stopwatches.
Uh-oh.
And
Now I'm terrified. Okay, good to know.
Let's go.
Early on, we've known you for more than a decade now.
Yeah, it's 10
If you
plus.
can believe
yeah,
that.
10 plus.
Yeah, for
We
sure.
have talked about a collaboration of some sort, and it's just been out there. It's
been amorphous, yeah.
We still haven't had
We're just
a
also
real
busy,
reason.
dude.
Yeah,
we're busy.
We live
this
half
is
the
like
country away from each other,
This is a
yeah.
hard gig.
Yes.
The calendar
Yeah.
books up, man.
Big time.
I
It's
mean,
tough.
I respect your hustle so much. You're beyond busy. I think we're busy, and then we hear about your schedule, and I'm kind of blown away. Your schedule is.
It's not a competition.
No,
it's
no,
actual mental disability. It's a problem.
I hear you.
It's a
It's
problem.
amazing,
But
and
it's a problem.
From a diversity standpoint, you have led the way for YouTubers, for automotive journalists. You've done podcasts, you've done YouTube videos, you've done West Side. It's amazing to see the growth of your brand too. So it's just
we missed the boat on car storage. We totally missed it. Somebody else did one in Park City that is phenomenal. So we're like, oh, that's out. So
look, dude. I mean, look, I think for you guys, you're making the right choice.
I agree. Thank you.
You're making the right
you.
choice.
Yeah.
Car storage is a very specific business.
For sure.
That if I didn't need it myself,
I hear that. Yeah.
I wouldn't have. It would have not made sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's because I have a whole bunch of stupid cars.
They've got to go somewhere. Yeah.
Having a staff to deal with, sort of makes sense.
Yeah.
I for you guys, I'm so happy that you've made the choices that you've made, because I think they benefit you in such interesting and multiple ways.
Well, the culture of Hooked on Driving was already somewhat similar to the culture we'd created with Everyday Driver. So we love that we're merging the two, and it's been funny to see the crossover. There's been some people that on either side that knew about the other, but then there's this vast audience on both sides that had never heard of the other one. And so we're trying to get the crossover happening and having people on adventures.
That like-mindedness is the same.
Absolutely, very true. That love of driving and actually wanting to drive your car
That's what we
is so
discovered.
key. Yeah,
that's what made sense to us.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Thank you for having us on.
Well, thank
Pleasure
you for coming by. I mean, this was a real treat, and you guys are always welcome.
And thanks for sharing
every
your
time
bourbon.
You're in town. Well, I didn't share the bourbon. I shared this.
Whiskey.
Fuck this weird Japanese whiskey is.
It's awesome.
It was great.
Quite delicious. That's all right. Too bad Zach missed out, because this was a great show. Thank you to our patrons for having such good questions for us tonight.
Yeah.
Of course, go to everydaydriver.com to see what these guys are doing. Check out their YouTube channel, their Instagram, and of course, if you want to find a track day in your area, hookedondriving.com
More coming.
is where you do it, and I'm sure they're going to be adding a lot more to that. And thank you to everybody else for listening to us. We certainly appreciate you as fans, and we'll see you later. Bye.
Thank you, man.